Excellent. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, excellent. Hey, we are very pleased to have Marty Kerr here with us this evening, spend some time. He's actually vacationing, but he still made time for us. So Marty, we are just really thrilled to have you here. Looking forward to the news you have for us, but you're always welcome. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And I just want to thank you and everybody on the council for the great work that you all do for the residents of Southwest Ranches. Southwest Ranches is a wonderful place to live. You know what? I've never met somebody in Southwest Ranches that dislikes living in Southwest Ranches. It is a great place. And I think you all are doing an absolutely fantastic job. And also, Mayor, I just want to quickly just compliment also your staff. I think everybody from Andy to Martin to Keith, everybody is really just a pleasure for our office to work with. I just think it's it's so important that our office has great relationships with every city and their staff, because the only way we can determine the correct values for all property and get our work done is when we have great partners, and the staff that y'all have over there is just magnificent. So I just want to thank y'all so much for that. And I have some interesting news for you. The first thing I was hoping to just quickly talk about for any of the residents that are watching, I wanted to quickly talk about what our office does. Then I'd love to talk about property values for this year. And it's actually perfect because tomorrow we're going to be giving Martin and Andy the property values for Southwest Ranches. So I'm actually going to tell you them today that you'll be setting your millage rates on, and they're actually pretty interesting. But I was hoping to do that. Then I wanted to quickly talk about what we have is our program, a new program called Owner Alert, which is designed to protect people from property title fraud, that I'm very proud of because I'm hoping everybody in Southwest Ranches signs up for it. But for the first thing though, for all of the residents that are watching, there are really a few main functions to our office. The first function is we determine the value of every piece of property in Broward County, whether it's residential, commercial, tangible personal property, or centrally assessed property, which are railroads. And the reason that's important is because when you pay your property taxes, the amount of taxes you pay is the relationship between the value of the property that we set and the tax rate set by your local governments, like Southwest Ranches, the county commission, the school board, and others. So the higher the value of the property, the more taxes people pay. The lower the value of property, the lower amount of taxes they pay. And what we want to make sure is that we just get it right. And Broward County is a big place. More people live here than 13 states, the District of Columbia, and all U.S. territories except Puerto Rico. It's big. And there are more parcels that we appraise in our county than that are actually in many states. And so I always tell everybody, please go on our website at bcpa.net, click on your name and put in your address, and your property record card will come up. And tomorrow you'll be able to see the value of your property that is going to be utilized for tax purposes for this year. And if you have any concern with the value of that property, give me a call. Let's go through it together. We have all the way till September 20th to go through it with you to make sure that the value is accurate and correct, and that you're only paying property taxes on your fair share of value. And if you contact me before September 20th, we can go through it, and your value then will be reflected, of course, in your tax bill come November. The second thing that we do, and this is so important, is what I love most about my job, is we give tax saving exemptions to people that qualify. And there are a lot of exemptions under Florida law that people qualify for. The most important one by far is the homestead exemption. If you live in Southwest Ranches, that's your primary residence, you get a homestead exemption. $50,000 of value is taken off the tax roll, you no longer pay taxes on, can save you at the beginning $700, $800, $900, maybe $1,000 a year. And most importantly, it really protects you going forward, because every year after you have a homestead exemption, the value you're taxed on can't go up more than 3%, or the consumer price index, whichever is lower. It kicks a very important cap into place that really protects you to ensure that your assessed value won't skyrocket with your market value. So it also makes sure your property taxes won't skyrocket. After you get that, there are many other exemptions. You have exemptions for seniors, for veterans, for first responders, for people with disabilities, and other exemptions as well. And I always ask everybody, please go on our website at bcpa.net, click on exemptions. And if there's something you're not getting, you have all the way till September 20th of this year to contact me so we can apply that exemption to your property, which will again be reflected in your November tax bill. The third thing I wanted to quickly talk about, and it's really important because I like to bring this up to all of the residents so that they can have a full understanding of what we do, is aside from the fact that we determine the value of property and also that we give tax saving exemptions to people that qualify, we also crack down on fraud, because people can't fraud the system, and some people actually do try to do that. And when they fraud the system, if they get an exemption they're not supposed to get, and they're knowingly getting that exemption, then they're not paying their fair share of property taxes, and it hurts everybody else playing by the rules. So we actually have a very aggressive fraud division that also goes out throughout the county every single day, and it takes away illegal exemptions that people are not supposed to be getting. And the way it works is, if we find out that somebody's getting an exemption that they're not supposed to be getting, and they've been frauding the system, we'll take away the exemption. We back tax the person up to 10 years, and we include a 15% penalty, a 50% penalty, and 15% interest. It can be very heavy, the fine that can accrue if somebody frauds the system. So I always tell everybody, please don't fraud the system. Please play by the rules, because if you do, the penalties can be pretty heavy. With that said, I was hoping to quickly give you all a kind of an update as to where you all are right now with property values, which are actually very interesting. And before I bring this up, I'm actually very surprised where property values are countywide. And the reason being is because the way that we determine the value of property is based on January 1st. January 1st is our date of assessment. And what we do is we look at January 1st and we look at all the data from the year before to determine the value of the property on that date. And as you know, 2020 was very difficult for so many people. It was during the height of COVID. You had a lot of people who suffered. You had a lot of people who were out of work. A lot of businesses lost a lot of revenue. And so I thought for certain a few months ago, before we started really looking at this data, that we were going to see a significant decline in the value that people pay property taxes on. But after we started reviewing the data and applying the data to the properties to determine the value for all properties, I found out that I was completely wrong. What's amazing is there's been a significant increase in value countywide. Not one city is going to see a decrease in value. Everybody's seeing an increase. And for example, the county commission will see a 5% increase in value this year over last year. And to give you an idea, for the county commission, if they keep their millage rate the same, that means they're going to get probably $50 million more this year than last year, which is pretty incredible. And this is all based on 2020 data. And before I tell you what's really driving this, is we have the residential real estate is selling for very high amounts, and people are coming from all over the country, many from New York, from Connecticut, from California, any state that I consider basically a high taxing state where they have income taxes and others. They're coming to South Florida and they're making Broward County their home. And a lot of people are paying a lot of money for these properties. And so Southwest Ranches is doing very well. In 2020, to give you an idea, the market value of all property was right about $2.4 billion. Fast forward to this year for 2021, the market value is about $2.6 billion, which is an 8.27% increase over the 2020 year. That's a pretty significant increase. And that's just the market value of residential and commercial. If you think about the taxable value, which is the number that you'll all be setting your millage rates on to determine the amount of money that's coming in 2020, the taxable value for Southwest Ranches for commercial and residential was right about $1.556 billion. Fast forward to 2021, the value this year is going to be right about $1.689 billion. And that's an 8.54% increase in taxable value. So to give you an idea, if you keep your millage rate the same, which is right about 4.25, you'll see right about another $500,000 to $600,000 of new revenue coming in that wasn't there last year, which is a $500,000 to $600,000 of new revenue, and that's a pretty significant chunk of money that Southwest Ranches, will see. Right now, you have about 2,091 properties that have homestead exemption. You have 46 properties that have the low-income senior exemption. You also have 2 properties that have what's called the long-term senior exemption. I want to thank you for that, because the long-term senior exemption basically says that a senior does not pay any property taxes to the city that's adopted it, but they had to have only made about $31,100 last year. They had to have been in their home for 25 years or more, and the value of their home has to be under $250,000. Well, you actually have 2 seniors that qualify, and I want to thank you, because those two seniors not paying property tax for you to you is really not impacting your budget whatsoever. It's very minimal, but the amount of money you're saving to those seniors that are struggling to make ends meet, it's really, really helpful to them. And Southwest Ranches was wonderful to adopt the long-term senior exemption. I'm trying to get every city in Broward County to do the same thing. You also have 10 exemptions for totally permanently disabled veterans, and their disability is service connected. They pay no property taxes, but those 10 American heroes have made Southwest Ranches their home. You also have 2 first responders who are totally permanently disabled that are fully exempt from property taxes. And last year so far, you had 60 homes portability value. The median value of a single family home in Southwest Ranches is right about $636,000. The average value is $839,000. So there's a little bit difference. The average value, you basically take all the properties, you do the value, and you just divide it by the number of properties. The median is a more accurate value because it's kind of right in the middle, and that would be $636,000. That's the market value. The average, the median taxable value is $420,000. And every property this year, the top 6 properties that we added to the tax roll, and you've had a lot, the ones with the highest values were all single family homes that we added to the tax roll. And something I wanted to bring up as well, just because I know this is important to Southwest Ranches. You know, right now you have 464 parcels that have an ag classification on them. Last year you had 493 parcels, but that is dropped by right about 30 parcels, 29 parcels. The just value of the 464 parcels are right about $358 million, and the taxable value is $128 million. So out of those agricultural properties, you've had about $158 million of value removed from the tax roll that taxes aren't paid on. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, my dear friend David had texted me today, had asked me today to, I guess, a resident, David, tell me if I'm saying this correctly. A resident had asked if I'd quickly talk about the increase in value over the last few years with regard to properties within Southwest Ranches. And so I just wanted to quickly dive into that if I can. And to let you know, in 2018, the market value for all property in Southwest Ranches was right about $2.27 billion. So 2.27. In 2019, there was a 1.91% increase to about $2.322 billion. And then in 2020, there was a 3.91% increase from that to about $2.413 billion. And then 2021, of course, this year, there's a big 8.27% increase in market value to about $2.613 billion. And the taxable value, which is the value, of course, that Southwest Ranch has used to set its tax rate that it levies its millage rate on. In 2018, the taxable value was about $1.4 billion. That was 2018. In 2019, there was a 4.4% increase to about $1.466 billion. 2020, there was a 6.1% increase to about $1.556 billion. And finally, again, in 2021, you see a larger increase of 8.54% to about $1.689 billion. And then the last thing, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, that I just wanted to talk about before I answered any questions that y'all had was about a new program that we have rolled out that I'm so excited about, designed to protect people from title fraud, and it's called Owner Alert. And I wanted to bring this up because unfortunately, South Florida is really, I think, the title fraud capital of the world. And the reason being is because recording divisions for every single county in the state of Florida have a ministerial duty. They have to accept every document filed with them, and they can't verify those documents for accuracy or validity. And so what occurs is you have, I believe, criminals will file fake deeds on people's properties, and then they'll take that fake deed and they'll try to extort people for money or even mortgage rent or even sell their property. And I really wanted to give people the opportunity to fight the fraud before the fraud occurred. So we actually had our IT department, which I think are incredible. They developed a program in-house. We spent no taxpayer dollars on it, and it's free to the public. And if anybody wants to sign up, all you have to do is go to web.bcpa.net/owner alert. And if you go on there, you can type in your name and you can type in your email. And if we have your email on file, that means it's already connected to your property. You're verified. We know that that's your property. If we don't have your email on file, we ask for other information, for example, information from your driver's license or your Florida ID. If we don't have that, there are other ways we can verify you as well. And then what will occur is as soon as somebody files a deed on the property, changing ownership on the property, whether it's legitimate or not, you're going to be notified. And it allows you basically to know that that has occurred, that something's been filed, and you can take all the appropriate steps possible to be able to ensure that you will not be defrauded. And it's very important because what I've learned is it takes some time for the fraud to perpetrate itself. And what occurs is, these documents are filed and people just don't know about it. And then something occurs, and before you know it, your title's clouded, and it costs you thousands of dollars of attorney's fees to try to fix it. And so this program, I think, is a really good thing. Again, it's web.bcpa.net /owner alert. I would love for everybody in Southwest Ranches to sign up. I think it's a great program. With that said, Mr. Mayor, I could go on and on forever, but if there are any questions that y'all have, I'd be just honored to answer it. Like I said, I love being here. I love Southwest Ranches, and just appreciate all the great work y'all do.
Awesome. Well, Marty, we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. I have personally, I've signed up for that notification for that. So I encourage everybody to do it. I just think it's so important. We invest so much in our homes. There's so much there, and protecting it is critical. So really kudos to you and your staff to do that and to give us that additional protection. And so thanks so much. I also think you might, if you get tired of this property appraiser business, you may have a future in accounting the way you rattled off those numbers. I don't know.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Well, I'll tell you this, lately, I've been helping my 11-year-old with her math homework. And I don't know, Keith, if you can attest to this as well, but math has gotten way harder than when we were in school. You know what I mean? It has, but that has helped me. So my 11-year-old 6th grade math has actually helped me a little bit in my math. So thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
Awesome. All right. Let me open it up to the council. Is there any questions or comments, things that we'd like to bring up?
And can I actually just thank Keith? I see that he has unbelievably put my homeowner alert screen behind him. So thank you, Keith. I appreciate that. I just noticed that. That's awesome.
You were rattling it off, so I wanted everyone to see it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions, comments for Marty?
Just a quick comment, Marty. I love your new website. It's a lot more intuitive and easier to use.
Oh, thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate it. Our websites are really cool. Our bcpa.net website, which is the original one, actually gets about 2 million hits a day, which I think is pretty amazing. And then the newer website is very, very good with mobile devices, and it's it was created after to be able to be very, very app friendly, I guess. So we're really, really proud of both websites, and that was so nice of you to bring that up. I'll definitely pass that on to our IT team. You're awesome.
All right, excellent. Marty, we'll let you go back to your vacation. Thank you for taking the time to spend with us. Really appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much, Steve. You all are great. Like I said, I love Southwest Ranches. If there's anything I could ever do, call me, email me anytime. And thanks again, Mr. Mayor, and everyone on the council and the staff for just your great partnership with us. We love y'all. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Awesome.
Thank you, Marty.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Excellent. All right. Next item on the agenda is quasi-judicial. Keith, if you can kick us off on that.
Sure, Mayor. Let me kick off this owner alert screen. Hold on. The next, Russell, how many items are on it now? I'm switching screens.
Just one item that's quasi.
Right.
Keith.
The next item on the agenda is quasi-judicial, Mayor, which means that you all are sitting as fact finders to ensure that the owner has proven by competent substantial evidence that they meet the criteria of the code. Because you're sitting as fact finders, as judges, everyone needs to be sworn in before the council. And at this point in time, we will ask if the applicant is present, Russell, and have you move them to a participant.
I just did. And Elizabeth, can you hear us?
Looks like she's on mute. There we go.
Elizabeth, can you hear us? Elizabeth?
Russell, do you happen to have her cellular number?
I don't, but she emailed me earlier. I can try to ask her what the issue is. Oh, I do have,
Jeff,
I'm sorry, I do
Jeff,
have the
do you
number.
happen
I do
to
have the
have it?
number. I do have the number. Let me call her.
While she's doing that, just to make a public disclosure that Andy recognized, one of our assistant engineers, Philip Karath, father is involved in this property. As a result, we have isolated and put up a wall between Philip and this project. He will not be reviewing or have any involvement in this project at all. So we just wanted to disclose that for the record.
Thank you, Keith.
Looks like he got someone.
So I think that's the largest increase in property value that I can remember hearing about in a single year.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's a new
Amazing.
record, Mayor.
Yeah.
Beat the previous year record was 6.69. Now we're at 8.55. I'll check the numbers out when they come in. Let you all know during our conferences. Thank you.
Very good, thanks.
I heard land was pretty cheap up in New York right now.
Keith, I have Elizabeth standing by on my cell phone.
Very
You
good.
mean you're putting it up to a microphone, Russell?
Yeah, that's correct. Can Elizabeth, can you hear the council?
We cannot really hear her that well, Russell. So just when she speaks, if you could just direct your mic as close as possible. So what we'll do at this time, Russell, now that we know the applicant's present, could you read the item into the record and swear everyone in?
Okay, Deborah will be handling those responsibilities today, so she's going to read item 4.
Absolutely.
Will I swear in the public first?
No, please read the item in first.
Yes, sir. This is a resolution and final order of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving application number PL 5620. The Canal Drive Ranch plat comprising 4 single-family dwelling lots on 9.59 gross acres, generally located on the north side of Southwest 50th Street, 700 feet west of Mather Boulevard, authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Deborah. If you could now swear in anyone who wishes to speak on this item.
Yes, sir. Do you swear the testimony you're about to, would you all please raise your hand and repeat after me? Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Russell, before I turn it over to Jeff for the staff report, we'll do our quick Jennings disclosures. Has any member of the town council had any ex parte communication concerning this item? If so, please state the nature of such communication.
I have had none.
No, I have none.
I've had none.
No council member has any disclosures. We know the applicant is present because she signified on Russell's cell phone. At this point, I'll turn it over to Jeff Kadams, who has been sworn in to present the entire staff report.
Thanks, Keith. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This plat creates 4 lots where there are now 2. The lots will range in size from just over 2 net acres to 2.22 net acres. There are drainage easements with canals bordering the north and west sides of the plat, and they're excluded from the net lot area calculation, as is proposed shared driveway that connects the back 2 lots to the street. Resulting net lot area is 8.25 acres. The existing residence, which is located at the southwest corner of the property, will be located within lot 1 and will comply with all code requirements, including plat coverage, setbacks, pervious area, with ample space for agricultural uses. The plat won't create any non-conforming conditions with respect to any existing improvements. The plat will have no common parcels and no homeowners association. Maintenance responsibility of the shared driveway serving the rear 2 lots will be established in a shared driveway maintenance agreement approved by the town attorney. The code allows this plat of up to 4 lots to occur without a site plan approval, as long as the development does not have an entrance sign or entrance feature, and neither are proposed. Accordingly, we find that the plat complies with the requirements of the Unified Land Development Code. We recommend approval subject to approval of the maintenance agreement for the shared driveway by the town attorney and grant of easement prior to town sign off of the plat.
Thank you. Jeff, does any member of the town council have any questions of staff at this time?
Keith,
Uh,
Jim Albritton.
Real simple question.
Let's go to Jim first, David, and then we'll come right back to you, only because I saw him jump in first.
Mr. Tony, can you explain the shared driveway?
Jeff, do you have a picture of it that you can pop on the screen?
Yeah, sure.
I have the drawing here in front. I was just, I didn't know that we did shared driveway, but
Yeah, Councilmember Albritton,
Me
shared
too, but
driveways.
Jeff, if you could pop it up, only because members of the public may not have it in front of them. So
Sure.
until we're all back in person, I just like everyone to
Thank
see what we're talking about.
Okay, you should be able to see it now.
yes, sir.
Okay, the shared driveway is this T-shaped area with this part being a turnaround so that fire trucks and garbage trucks can maneuver and back out. Council member, these shared driveways are very common in Southwest ranches.
Okay.
We allow shared driveways to provide access to up to 4 homes. And in this case, it provides access to 2 homes. Theoretically, lots 1 and 4 could decide to access the shared driveway, but they don't need to because they have direct access to 50th Street.
So hopefully that helped, council member. It is something that we commonly see in the town. This case, it's actually less than the max. It's only those 2 lots. The other ones have direct street frontage, so they're connecting directly.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councilmember Kozinski.
Just a simple question, just to make sure there will be sufficient land space should a future landowner desire to build a barn for horses.
I can tell you that on lot 1 with the existing house, there's plenty of room. We don't know how big and what configuration lots 2, 3, and 4 are going to take, but at 2 net acres each, they should have enough land for agricultural use.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll turn it over to Elizabeth, who is serving as the applicant, to present her report. Elizabeth, it's Keith Polyakoff. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Keith.
Can you just confirm for the record that you've been sworn in and that you've read the staff report and whether or not you stipulate to the findings contained therein?
Yes, I was sworn in, and I totally rely on what Jeff said. He is absolutely right about everything, and I'm very pleased on how this project came to be.
Do you have any further presentation or just relying on the staff submittal?
No, I don't have any further presentation. As Jeff said, lots 1 and 4 will have access to the street, so they don't need to be on the shared driveway, and the 2 back lots, well, they have this easement to gain access.
Thank you. Does any member of the town council have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, Mayor, we're going to open up to the public before we turn it directly over to you. Russell, who's controlling that? Is that Deborah or you?
I'll be controlling that as well.
Okay,
We have,
turning it over to you for public comment.
certainly. Okay, the first speaker appears to be Noel Hollingsworth. Mr. Hollingsworth, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Noel Hollingsworth, and I have been sworn 199th Avenue. My question is on the shared driveway and the cost to maintain it. Is it just the 2 back lots that will be maintaining the cost of the driveway, or all 4 lots? And my other question is, if the driveway is deteriorated, do the 2 front lots have the ability to request for the repaving of it? And how would that go about? Thank you.
Thanks, Noel.
Well, it's a driveway, it's not a street.
No, please don't answer yet. We'll just go through public comment first. Russell, is there anyone else desiring to speak?
No, Keith, I see no other hands raised for this particular item.
Okay, at this time, public comment is closed. Jeff, only because we can hear you a little bit better. Do you want to respond to any of the questions
sure.
asked by Newell?
The answer to all of his questions is it's really up to the property owners to establish the terms of responsibility for maintenance of the shared driveway. Only the back 2 lots are intended to use the shared driveway. I believe the agreement, I've seen drafts of it, still under review, but I believe that lots 2 and 3 are completely responsible between the 2 of them for maintenance of the easement. Lots 1 and 4 don't have access to it. And all of these things are determined by the property owner and recorded for the public records and are binding on the future owners and assigns.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have any final comments to make?
No.
If I can interrupt, Keith, there's one person that did try to reach out to us before the meeting, Adrienne Bon Hayes. I didn't see her with her hands raised, but they're raised now. I don't know if you want to allow that person to speak. She did have some questions that were submitted to us in writing, and I responded and copied Jeff on those questions.
All right, Mayor, would you hear from the resident?
Yes, please.
Okay. Adrienne Bon Hayes, are you there?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi. So I just had a concern. I just wanted to make sure, and I think I've inferred from the comments that the current house that is there will remain there. It's not being demolished, and is the current property owner planning on remaining in that household. My main overall concern is that I wouldn't want this area to turn into a mini development off of our street, because every house is individualistic. So that's my only concern, that I wouldn't want a mini development to destroy the character of our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, I'm going to turn over to Elizabeth, who may be able to answer that resident's question and make any concluding remarks. Russell, if you could please hold up the phone as close as possible, because it's really hard to hear.
Okay. Hang on one second. Okay. Elizabeth, can you hear us? Okay.
Yes, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, the answer is, as far as I know,
Can't hear her.
for the moment, I don't know what the property owner's plans are, but so far, the house remains, and they're gonna sell off the other 3 lots.
So directly, the questions were twofold. One, is the existing house going to remain on the property? So that we'll do each question in turn.
Well, what I just said, that's what my understanding is, but I cannot predict the future. But yes, as far as I know, the house remains.
Okay, so the house will remain as of now. And the second question is it going to be a mini development, or is each lot can be sold independently for their own architectural design?
Independently, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Elizabeth, do you have any concluding comments?
No, sir, I don't.
Thank you. Mayor, at this point, it's turned over to you for deliberation. If you find by competent substantial evidence that the plat meets the requirement of the code, it can be approved. The council could also find it doesn't and can deny the item, or you could table it for more information, or you can approve with additional conditions beyond what staff imposed. Because this is quasi-judicial, requires a unanimous vote of the town council. Mayor?
Great, thank you, Keith. Appreciate that. All right, let me open it up to the council. Is there any comments, council deliberation on this item?
Do you need a motion first?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve
Second.
based on the recommendations of staff.
I'll second
Great,
it.
Thank you. Appreciate the motion in the second. Any comments, questions, any further deliberation on this item? Seeing none. Deborah, we have a motion, a second. If you could please call a question.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes,
The motion passed.
thank you. And congratulations to the property owner.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the public comment. Russell, if we have some folks that are interested in speaking.
Mayor, it looks like we have a few people that wish to speak. The first being John Eastman.
Just for purposes of the record, Russell, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and they're allowed to speak on only non-agenda items.
Okay, Mayor, the first public speaker is John Eastman. Go ahead, Mr. Eastman, can you hear us?
He's on mute.
John, you're on mute.
How about now?
Here we go.
My comments were going to be on board assignments, but that's an agenda item, so I guess I'll waive.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
we'll have public comment on that item at the time.
Okay, Mayor, the next speaker is Jim Lasky. Mr. Lasky, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Anyway, the other night I had the occasion to go to the Comprehensive Planning Board. I made some comments concerning the impact of the current usages in our area of the trash trucks, the grinders, and that sort of thing. And I wanted to put a financial impact onto the noise and the aggravation that we receive in this part of town. And since Marty Carr made such a brilliant presentation tonight on how much our property values went up, well, how is this going to be offset by having drum grinders? You know, we got like 5 drum grinders, and we got a new one at Parish Nursery, which is like directly east of me. They were running on Sunday. It's so beautiful. A Sunday afternoon, beautiful sky and everything. And we hear anywhere from a 500 horsepower to a 1,000 horsepower drum grinder grinding up stumps and trash. This is Southwest Ranches. Marty Carr just got saying, everybody loves it here. I love it here. So what do we need drum grinders for? I never saw them write a check to the town. And you've got all these people hauling trash that can't go to a dump because they don't have the kind of ID you need to go to a dump. They haul it to these trash haulers. They're solid waste managers. They're in competition with Waste Management that does everything correct. And you got them creating a business. And you want to expand on that? You want a grandfather for life? You know, these numbers will make sense to you if you just sit down and think about it. Plus, mulching is not a farm product. It's not a farm activity. You know, growing tomatoes, corn, raising cattle, that sort of thing. And if you look at the application from the statewide, you'll find out you've got to put down numbers for all that. How many fruit trees you got, how many acres of sod you grow, sugar cane, all that sort of stuff you see up around the lake. It's hard for me to imagine that unless you do some of these labor-intensive, noise-intensive, aggravation-intensive activities, you can't make it as a commercial nursery anyway. But, you know, you guys are all, listen to all this stuff from these business people, but the only way they can do it is fudge their numbers if it came down to an audit. I wish you'd look at it from that perspective. Anyway, thank you much for the time.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, Mayor, the next speaker would be George Kalis.
Can you hear me?
Hey, George. Yes, we can.
George Kalis, 6721 Hancock Road, or south of the dump. You guys know, and I'm just as tired of complaining about this as you are hearing it. And the previous speaker was head on as far as noise. I get the backup of the trucks on a daily basis, and that's the only way I know that they're dumping is that you can hear the trucks. But and that's at 7 o'clock in the morning. But nevertheless, we all know that he has an ag exemption. We all know that he's abusing the privilege. And a witness to that is George Lorenzo and Danny Padilla. You've heard it from the Greens, the Parkers, the Parishes, the Wagman. And the only reason I'm complaining about it now is because I haven't heard anything. Dave mentioned it last night. Steve is on board with it. But at the last meeting, nothing was even said about it. So the only reason I'm here, so it doesn't become a dead issue. You know, somewhere down the line, 2 years from now, people are going to say, well, how did we wind up with a dump in Sunshine Ranches? You know, Sunshine Ranches is only 4 square miles. And here we have a dump right in the middle of it. And they're going to say, well, how'd that happen? I don't know. Maybe they'll say, well, the town council wasn't on it. Yeah, I went on last night and we've had Fred Siegel out here with Ms. Gilbert, and they all stated that, Fred Siegel is the Broward Soil and Water Conservation District. They all mentioned that the town council could do something about this, and yet nothing has happened. And I know, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic in any way, but come on, guys, let's stop this dumping. It's not for Sunshine Ranches. It's not. I witnessed a big, fat, black rat, the size of a cat, running through there. I've already chased 2 snakes through there. I got snails every morning. I pick snails off my house that I haven't had in 50 years. It just goes on. Anyway, there's nothing more I could say that you haven't heard, but I just want to keep it alive because all of a sudden it seems like it's a dead issue. Keith, you got your mom down the street. You pass by every day. And he's got this big curtain so you can't see what's going on. And that's 1,000 foot of curtain. What happens to that in a hurricane? Let me quit now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it.
Mayor, the next speaker is Mary Ann Allen.
Hello there.
Hey, Marianne.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Terrific. Hello, everybody. I guess y'all know me, but just in case, I've been here since 1989. I was integral in the incorporation of this town, and I'd like to take you on a time travel tonight, if I may, back to 2001, and I'm going to read to you the newspaper article, Birth of a Town. And I think it gives us a lot of perspective and will help us in the future. So if you allow me to read this article to you, and I have many copies I can supply you with as well. So here it is. Southwest Ranches. Want to leave your car on blocks for 2 months while you rebuild the engine? Go ahead. Is your grass real tall? No sweat. Nobody will order you to cut it. Welcome to Broward County's newest municipality. Southwest Ranches may very well be the last place in South Florida where you have the freedom to live as you like, which is why residents call it the final frontier. On March 14th of last year, residents of the rural unincorporated area were given a choice: incorporate or be annexed by Davie or Pembroke Pines. More than 95% of its voters favored becoming Broward's 30th municipality. On June 6th, they approved a charter that makes it difficult to change their rural lifestyle. And on August 8th, they elected 5 of their neighbors to take control of the government, whose prime directive is to preserve the free and easy lifestyle. The community of 8,243 people and even more horses, goats, chickens, and peacocks is the antithesis of the planned and gated communities dotting the rest of Western Broward, Palm Beach, and Miami-Dade counties. With the Everglades on its western border and the manicured lawns of Cooper City, Pembroke Pines, Weston, and Davie on its other borders, Southwest Ranches is a touch of small town America amidst South Florida's sophisticated suburbs. We don't have time for nitpicking government, said Vice Mayor Johnny Dollar, 46, during the race for 4 seats on the town council. We're here because we don't want rules. If we did, we'd have gone to Pembroke Pines, said Forrest Blanton, 47, now a council member. I certainly would never make code enforcement welcome in our town, said Susan Wynn, 45, a resident who sought a council seat. It shouldn't be dictated by anyone what you have in your home or on the property of your home. We live in the last frontier. There'll never be another place like this, said Donald Maines, 51. We need to write whatever ordinances and codes we need so there is no nitpicking. If I want to put my little trailer in my backyard, who's to say no, said Jim Larkin, 77, a resident of 6 years. As long as my neighbors don't bother me, I won't bother them. That has been the rancher's creed for decades. In the early 70s, neighboring cities began making overtures to take over the unincorporated territory called Southwest Ranches, a loosely knit area with 7 distinct neighborhoods. Ranchers such as Rince Paletta, 70, and Ruth Wolf, 75, fearing that those cities would impose their rigid laws on the ranchers, sought the right to let the collective community become a government of its own. A driving force to incorporate was Mecca Fink, 55, now mayor. She is an executive level government worker with the ability to get along with just about everyone. I was born in Miami and lived in Hialeah and Hollywood, Fink said. One day in Hollywood, I got a ticket for parking a motorhome in my driveway. It was there only for an hour, but the officer wouldn't be flexible. So I started looking for someplace else to live when a friend said, I ought to look at this beautiful place, Southwest Ranches. She was right. It was beautiful. And the freedom it allowed residents was even more attractive. She and her husband, Roy, packed up and moved. If my husband brings home a hunting buggy, I want to be able to leave it in the yard, she said. We require somewhere with a freedom-loving lifestyle. And to me, the ranches is it. Fink became a leader in her neighborhood association, went on to become president of the Southwest Ranches Homeowner Association. He was really preaching to the choir as she touted the benefits of independence. Still, the founders of the town didn't have an easy go of it. They bickered amongst themselves as they struggled to write the charter. Thomas Jefferson didn't have a picnic from the history I've read, said Folletta. I'm sure they had battles as George Washington sat there biting his nails. But the Southwest Ranches revolutionaries wrote a charter, presented it to Tallahassee, and achieved the right of self-government. But they don't have
Marianne, how much, I really do appreciate what you're reading. I think
just two more little paragraphs and I'll finish.
perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead.
So here it goes. In the past, I've lived in big cities, but you're so restricted about what you can do, said Shirley Dwyer, 50, who lives on 3 acres. I want a place where I can hang clothes on the line if I want to, or have pigs or goats or rabbits. We don't need rich people coming out here and complaining that your rooster got out and ate my hibiscus, said Patricia, who lives on 2.5 acres. The rich people in Southwest ranches, and there are plenty of them, don't care. So here you go. Here's a nice little historical piece of what it meant for us to become a town, why we wanted to become a town, why our motto says protect and preserve our rural nature. So when we have people on planning advisory boards that say all they want is residential, and I heard that represent us and possibly should hold their oath to preserve and protect our rural lifestyle. And after your glowing comments of how everybody loves living here, what a great area this is, let's preserve it, please, for the future of our children and grandchildren. Only we can do this in this place and time so that in the future we don't lose what we already know is to be so special. And thank you for listening to me, guys. I hope you enjoyed that.
Yes, thank you, Marianne.
Okay, Mayor, the next speaker is Fred Cox. Mr. Cox, can you hear us?
Hi, I'm here. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
Hey,
I wasn't going to speak until Marianne read the article. That's great. Maybe we should read that before every meeting. We've got 2 strange laws coming up tonight, which I can't comment on, but what's happened? What's happened in 21 years? Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Fred.
Mayor, I see no other hands raised to speak tonight.
Great, thank you. All right, are there any board reports this evening?
Jason Hallberg has raised his hand, Mayor.
Excellent. Hey, Jason?
Yep, I'm here.
Yep, we can hear you.
Perfect. I'll make it brief. So yeah, this is Jason Halberg, Chair of the Comprehensive Planning Advisory Board. So the board met last Thursday, and you know, as I've mentioned previously, we're currently working on the nursery ordinance. We've been working on it for this is maybe our 4th meeting, I believe. You know, we added, as I mentioned before, 2 new folks to our board who have nurseries, they're nursery owners. So it's been very interesting to get their perspective. We've also had a number of residents join our meeting through the Zoom, and they've been able to provide some good insight, some things that the board may not have thought of, and different items that were very helpful. So we're working through it. It is a kind of a slow process, and again, we want to make sure we get this right, as I've mentioned before. So we'll continue to do so, and we'll keep you posted as we get further along. So thank you, guys.
Great, thank you, Jason. Any other board reports this evening?
I don't see any other hands raised, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Council member comments. Yeah, Gary.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I got a couple of things I just want to go over. One is a matter of course. This Monday will be Memorial Day. The town hall will be closed. hope everybody has a safe and happy weekend. Another item is that we're going to have our first responder photo shoot on the 13th of July out at the Rolling Oaks Barn at 5 p.m. I'm sure Bob will comment on that. He's our ace #1 photographer, and I'll be there to hold his camera strap whenever he needs it. There's one last thing I want to go over real quick. Well, it won't be quick, but it may require some discussion, but I'd like to propose this to the council. I would like to put Mary Gay Chapels on the Parks Board as an honorary member. And she was one of the founders of our town, and she has served on that board for since its inception. And she has been out here in the town, as she likes to say, over 60 years. I think I was born right about then when she moved out here. And I would love to put her on the board as an honorary member. She's had some health issues and she's had some technology issues. And as an honorary member, it won't affect the quota, the quorum, and she'll be able to come and go as she pleases to all the meetings and help us with her input. She's a valuable resource of knowledge for our town, and I would sincerely like to, hopefully you all go along with me on this. And I'd like the town to write her a letter thanking her and letting her know if this passes. And I would like to make a motion that we put her on the Parks Board as an honorary member for life, like we did with Vince Valletta and Astor Knight. And I'd appreciate a second from anybody out there.
I'll second that, Gary.
Thank you, Bob, very much. I really feel strongly that she's a really good contribution to our town. Whether you love her or whether you don't love her, she can be controversial at times. We all know that. But she's still, she's one of the heart and souls of our town. And I would love to put her on, keep her on that board as long as she wants to stay on it. So I'll leave it at that.
You know, Gary, I think that's, I couldn't have said it any better. I support that 100%. And I just think it's a great idea. I really appreciate you bringing that up and definitely support it.
Thank you. Can any other?
Yeah, Jim.
Yeah, Councilman Bonsky, what is an honorary member? Can you explain?
The honorary member, Andy, if you want to chime in here, and help me out in case I go astray. An honorary member can come and go as they please in the board meetings. They can vote on items if they choose to, but they don't count in terms of the minimum requirement to hold a meeting. They're there as an honorary title.
Yeah, Mayor, if I can add to that just a little bit.
Sure.
It's what we did with Vince Valletta when he had difficulty attending the drainage board meetings and when Astor Knight moved out of town. It allows them to stay on the board. It recognizes their contribution, allows them to come participate in discussion and vote on items, but not being an official member, they don't count towards quorum. So as Councilmember Jablonski said, they're allowed to be a participating member of the meeting, but not necessarily count towards quorum or be a quote unquote official member of the advisory board.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this item?
Basically, I support.
What's that, David? Sorry.
I support.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, I'm just going to open it up to the public here.
Okay, Mayor, the first speaker is Fred Cox. Mr. Cox, can you hear us?
I just had a question. I didn't think honorary members voted in regard to the official vote. I may be mistaken. So after the fact, if someone could clear that up for me. It's not a question about Mary Gay. It's just a question about honorary. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. The next speaker is Mary Ann Allen. Ms. Allen?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I spoke about this issue the last time. This is about the Planning and Advisory Board, correct?
This is
No.
about, well, Mary Gay on the Parks Board.
The Parks Board, that has nothing to do with bringing up new regulations for the town, does it?
No.
So what is the purpose of the Parks Board that she's going to be on? Like what decisions can be affected from there?
After the public comment, we'll address that.
Oh, okay, because my concern, and as I stated before, was that she was one of the driving forces to put commercial in Sunshine Ranches. And I know that, you know, I've known her for many years and I love her to pieces, but I also love Sunshine Ranches in my community. And when someone wants to put commercial in my backyard, when we created the town, we said, no commercial, no, none. So I have a little bit of apprehension if she's going to be able to vote on issues like that, to bring up new proposals to the town, like let's put a commercial along Flamingo and Sheridan. That would be my concern, okay? And you understand why. And it's no ill will to Mary Gay. I think she's been incredible. She's been a friend for a long time, and I hope she doesn't take this the wrong way, but please don't bring commercial up again in Sunshine Ranches. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mayor, the next speaker would be Debbie Green.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Debbie. Yes, we can.
Hi, I just have a question as far as the honorary member and as far as counting towards a quorum. I just wanted to clarify, if you can clarify. So I guess if they're at a meeting, they have a vote, but do they count towards the quorum? So in case you're kind of short, that you can then proceed with your meeting since they are a voting member? Can you proceed with your meeting? It just doesn't count against you as saying you have one extra member, so you need one extra to have a quorum. So if that person isn't present, it doesn't hurt you, but does their presence help you in the event you need that person to hold your meeting?
Gotcha. Okay, we'll answer that. All right, any other speakers?
We have one other speaker, Mayor. It's Jason Hallberg.
Yeah, hello, this is Jason Hallberg, 5751 Thoroughbred Lane. I stepped away from my desk just for a second. I came back. I apologize. What ordinance are we on again, or what resolution?
We're not on an ordinance. We're actually in council comment, and Council Member Jablonski has put forth a recommendation to make Mary Gay Japles an honorary member of the Parks Board.
Oh, okay. I don't really have any comments at the moment, but thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, we have no other public speakers on this issue.
Okay, thank you. So there was a couple of questions there. One, does the vote count? And the second one, does the person clarify that they don't add to the quorum, but can they satisfy the quorum? And then we want to talk a little bit about the function of the park board. So Andy or Russell, let me turn it over to you.
I'm going to punt this one to Russell because
yeah, I think Russell's the expert here.
Mayor, of course, I'll always defer to Keith, but from my understanding on the advisory boards, the way that it's handled is that an honorary member is just that, and so they do not have a voting role in the board. They're meant to obviously provide some history, some context to the discussion. They do not provide or do not have a voting role, nor would they count towards quorum. That's my.
The only thing I would add to that, Russell, is, you know, obviously this was a non-agenda item, so I'm just hearing it for the first time. But if the desire is to allow her to vote, which is what I had heard from the motion, then what I would call her is an honorary alternate member, which then enables her to vote in the cases Debbie Green mentioned, that there wasn't a quorum and that she could help quorum, and vote as well in cases where her voting would not impact quorum. So if that's the desire of the council, it can be structured that way as an alternative voting member.
Okay, so if I understand what you're saying, that if there was not, if all the members of the park board were there, her vote would not specifically count. But if any member at all of the parks board was missing, at that point, she would act as a member of the parks board and her vote would count. Is that correct?
That was the intent of what I was stating, but not, the maker of the motion needs to clarify what the intent.
Right, gotcha.
Since I made the motion, I think Keith summed it up fairly well.
Okay, great. And the, Bob, I think you seconded that motion. You're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And then I think, you know, as far as the function of the park board, they basically oversee all the different elements of what goes on in our parks. They work very closely with our director of PROS, Parks, Recreation, and the O stands for something. But basically looks after the parks, and you know, they do an amazing amount of work in gathering up recommendations from residents on different things that would make our parks better. They look at all the different proposals for developing our parks and how that would occur. They help to find funding for it. They are a great, important board for us. And Andy, I see I missed something.
Just to complete the record, it's Parks, Recreation, and Open Space.
Ah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
That was very well put, Mayor. You pretty much hit the nail on the head. I know one of the public speakers mentioned about commercial areas. That's way beyond the purview of the Parks Board. They're all about keeping the open space open and helping maintain our rural lifestyle through passive parks or developmental areas that we need to work on through drainage and wetlands and things of that nature. So I just wanted to add that.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Any further discussion on this item? All right. Seeing none. Deborah, if you could please call the roll.
Yes, Mayor. And are we going to be sitting on the original motion, lifetime honorary member or lifetime honorary alternate member?
Honorary alternate member.
Alternate member.
Okay, Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it very much. Also to Andy or Russell, if you could, I would love to have you guys send a letter to Ms. Chapels explaining the responsibilities and the role, and you know, and not just necessarily an email, but an actual official letter. I would appreciate that.
Thank you. All right. Any other council comments? Who would like to speak next?
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Great, thanks.
I'll pick it up next.
Great,
So
thank
a
you,
couple
Bob.
of things. Let's see. Gary mentioned the Southwest Ranch's first responder and frontline workers picture we'd like to take. Let me make sure everybody understands frontline workers. We're also looking to invite any nurses, any healthcare providers that are dealing with COVID. That's probably the best way to sum it up. You know, if you're a doctor or a nurse or an administrator or work in the hospitals and you're dealing with these people, we'd love to recognize you. We're also going to have the volunteer and Davie Fire Department, Davie PD. I believe the Mounted Patrol is going to be there. We still have to pick a specific location at the barn, but the challenge is the sun's on the wrong side that time of the day. So we've got to get something figured out there. But for those who are interested, It's going to be on July the 13th at Rolling Oaks Park. We'd like everybody to try to get there by 5 o'clock. Sun goes down close to 8, so we've got plenty of time. We'll be socially distant. We want to thank all those who help us out directly in town and help out the general public. Just in case we have rain, because someday we're going to enter the rainy season. Hasn't started yet this year, but the date is on July the 13th. We've got 2 other rain dates, July the 20th and the 27th as well. So that's the first item I wanted to mention. The second is I wanted to congratulate Madison Sullivan. I've written a couple of articles for the town newsletter about Madison. She's quite an extraordinary individual. She is a senior at West Broward High School, and she just got the Silver Knight Award from the Knight Foundation for her contributions. She put a program together that delivered over 1,200 masks to people that needed them. She's worked with the Pembroke Pines Fire Department, Davian Southwest Ranches Fire Department, Cleveland Clinic, a whole bunch of organizations and providers with the masks that she gave out. And something I just recently learned is that every one of those masks also went out with a handwritten note of encouragement from kids from, I believe it was Hawks Bluff Elementary School. So she is continuing to amaze me. She's a great kid. She really represents our town well, and she's also about to be a West Broward High School graduate. So congratulations to Madison. She's done a great job. On a more serious note, I did want to talk about the nursery ordinance for a couple of minutes. And Steve, I didn't want to discuss this at the last meeting because you weren't there. And as well, I know that a part of what I'm speaking of was something that I know you feel strongly about. In this nursery ordinance, you know, there was stuff in there about horse trailers. That doesn't have much to do with nurseries. There's another piece in there that I guess tangentially has to do with nurseries, but I think we need to consider it separately. The language that's in the nursery ordinance concerning the landscape maintenance companies, to me, I'd like to split that back out again. I know we kind of brought it together. I believe it was about a year ago, but I'd like to move it back out. And the reason is, you know, we heard that we didn't have the right people engaged for the nursery ordinance. I think we've done what we can to remediate that problem. I have not seen or heard anybody at any of the discussions concerning anybody who's got a landscape maintenance company. And what really gave me a change of heart about it was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, I was coming home from a super early in the morning blood lab appointment. And, you know, typically I try to steer away from 185th 6 because of the traffic problems in there, but I hadn't driven through in a while. So I figured, let me take a drive through there. I was amazed by the number of landscape companies that were sending out trucks. I don't know whether they're exclusively landscape maintenance or these are affiliated with the nurseries that are there, or if it's just people renting space on land. I didn't stop to talk to anybody, but there was a very significant number of vehicles. Now I realize right now it's against our code. And if somebody told code enforcement to go out and start cracking down on these people, I really believe we'd hurt a lot of people in town. Now, I'm not taking a position right now, one way or the other, on the legality of it or whether we should, you know, ease up on restrictions. That's not my point here. I'd like to take it separately so we can consider it separately. You know, there's a number of people we all know associated with our HOA, with our homeowners associations, etc., that own these businesses. And again, if we turned around tomorrow and set code enforcement out to start trying to shut down all of these businesses, I think it would put a world of hurt on our neighbors. I don't think it's the right approach. So I know the two are together right now. I'd like to split it out if everybody's in agreement, particularly you, Steve, since I know you were very passionate about this a couple of years ago when we had a real problem that needed to be resolved. So I just wanted to throw that out and open it up for some brief discussion.
All right. Appreciate that. You know, as you've alluded to, there have been a number of situations where landscape maintenance companies have created a real hardship for the residents around them. And so they are illegal today. And the wording that's in this current ordinance or proposed ordinance would only be more specific, but illegal either with it or without this change or this addition. You know, I don't know how to approach that, Bob, to be honest with you. It's illegal, so it's tough for folks to come out and try and defend the business that's already illegal. You know, here's where I come down. Here's where I come down. And it applies to all kinds of things. For agricultural use, I'm all for that. You know, the open space, the wholesale nurseries, things like that. That's what our town was built on. That's what's important. What I have a problem with, and I'm upfront about it, is large commercial entities that are in our town that create a number of issues. You know, most likely, or the one that we see the most is traffic. But it can destroy the rural lifestyle of the residents that are around them. The area that you're talking about is mostly those types of businesses. So there's not a lot of residents there that are going to complain about it. But it creates a situation where they go into other places and it is a big issue. And so I'm very concerned about any discussion that would take away the protections that those other areas have against this commercial entity moving in next door to them. And we've got some that are waiting in the wings to do just that. And so I'm really hesitant about pushing this down the line. We've got a zoning in progress in place that is kind of putting a lid on it for the moment. We can renew that, but if we kick it down the road too often, we're not going to be able to do that. So I want to hear what the rest of the council feels. My preference is let's get it taken care of now while it's in the comprehensive plan board's hands at the moment.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I got a question for the two of you, if you would. Mr. Vice Mayor, you said that if we take it out, what do you mean by pulling it out of the nursery ordinance? Would we then come up with an ordinance dealing strictly with landscaping? Would we have two separate ordinances?
That would be what I would suggest. As soon as we're finished with the nursery ordinance, we take it up. I don't know the right answer to this, guys. I don't know whether we want to allow it or further restrict it or regulate it differently. But right now it is prohibited. And if you take a drive around, a couple of areas of our town where these businesses exist, about 7 o'clock in the morning, it might open your eyes. I mean, the first time I really noticed it was when I was campaigning, swinging signs every morning. These guys would drive past all morning long, and it's, 6 or 7 different companies that we know all, we mostly know all the business names because they do business in town as well. So yeah, I would encourage that we would direct the comp plan board to address as soon as they're finished with their current task. I wouldn't want to kick it down the road. But Steve, I understand. All we're doing is we're putting it into the permitted and non-permitted uses. Basically, we're quantifying it the way I understand it.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, I could chime in. I'd really like to see it's kind of a broad brush stroke. I'd like to see the finer brush strokes, the finer points of what you're talking about, Bob. And that maybe that's done in the comp board, and you could highlight those areas, because it seems like there's a little bit of a haziness to exactly what we'd be pulling out of that ordinance, and I don't know how to comment on it until I see what it is, for lack of a better way of saying it. Exactly what, specifics of what you're saying.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, I echo Gary on this. I would like to see what is proposed. I do see an interest with what we're trying to accomplish, but I would like to visually see what Vice Mayor Hartman is proposing, just because it's important to all the residents of the town.
Right.
Yeah, sure, Bob, go ahead.
I think we probably ought to move ahead with what's in the current nursery ordinance. I just don't like mixing all these things together in an ordinance that's called a nursery ordinance, because this is really landscape maintenance. We can move forward with that, but I'd like to pick this up with the comp plan board and get resident input on this.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm through. Thank you, Steve.
Okay. Yeah, no, actually, I think that makes a lot of sense. I like that a lot better. If we proceeded, it really is very small. The one line, it just codifies what we've already got as a non-permitted use. But if we want a robust discussion after that to potentially make a change to that, certainly, I think that I would feel a lot more comfortable about.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Bob, any other comments that you?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, David.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got a few items to talk about. First of all, remind everybody that this weekend begins on the Memorial Day weekend. In Arlington Cemetery, there's between 640 acres of our heroes who have given their lives for our freedoms that we all enjoy today. So keep those memories as in your thoughts as you're enjoying times with your families this weekend. Moving on, when Marty spoke about the increase in revenue, rounding down to 8%, I think about that from the aspect that, yeah, okay, we're going to get 8% additional revenue. I look at it for where is that revenue coming from? That is from the people that elected us and those who didn't vote for us. It's the people that we represent. That's where the money's coming from. And that's where it really causes concern to me. I'm not happy to see my property taxes increased by 8%, even though it may not be quite that much, but that's really not something that I'm very comfortable with. And it's, I just hope that we can minimize the impacts to our residents as we get into the budget. I also found Jim Lasky's concern about the stump grinding and the loud noises on Sundays. That's very problematic, and that's something I know they're protected with the ag, but I just wish there was something we could do to help them and help Mr. Kalis with his plight next door. And with hurricane season starting, we're kind of just starting it right now. I know Mr. Kalis is going to be facing some problems if there's a big hurricane that comes through. I'd like to ask the administration what's going on with the how the progress is going on the website and our update on our TIS-DOOR program. I know that there's a lot of streets that are on that plan that are in our that we've approved. And let's see. Moving on. Oh, I wanted to wish happy birthday to Chris Brownlow. Chris Brownlow is like a sister to me. very, very dear friend. I love Chris Brownlow. She is so special, such a special friend. She helps out with a lot of our boards and a lot more than that. And I just want to recognize her birthday today, and just keep her in your thoughts. And then I want to recognize Savannah Hodger's birthday. Savannah came to me by calling me, asking me for support for the scholarship fund. It's the first time anybody ever did that. And in fact, that's the only time anybody has done it. So Savannah was the first and the only person who called me. So I want to wish her a happy birthday as well. And finally, the legislature has adopted some new laws. I heard today driving home that effective July 1st, if you're driving with your flashers on, that will be considered a moving violation. The legislature has taken more increased action, taking away the local government's rule on home rule. First, dealing with home businesses, and most importantly for us, taking away the anonymous reports of code violations. That is something that my residents have relied on a lot because, you know, we like our neighbors, but, you know, we're like, okay, well, that's a very serious code violation. I don't want to know that I was the person that told them, but I want to preserve our rural lifestyle. So when the legislature does something like this, they're taking away our power, and it's not right. So that kind of wraps up my comments, and I'd like to pass it on to Mr. Albritton.
Thank you, David. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, Town Council, staff. In June, we will have our first meeting in Town Hall. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to sit there as your representative from District 3. I am so much looking forward to being in person. This Zoom for me is nerve-wracking. I had a few problems this evening with it, trying to get it on. And it's just, but in person, I think it'll be a lot better. I'd like to say thank you to the staff at Town Hall for everything they've done to put this on to make it possible so that in June we can have a face-to-face meeting. The police department, still writing tickets. I love to see them come down through my block. Officer Christie, she stops by to let me know how she's doing, and she is absolutely thrilled that we bought that new radar gun for her. I see the crime reports come through each week, and they are a little disturbing sometimes in that there are cars or trucks stopping in front of people's houses, people walking through properties, looking around for really no reason. So I just ask that the neighbors be vigilant and look after each other and, you know, keep this town safe. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Jim. All right. You all covered a lot of territory that I was going to touch on, so I will be brief with a few things, but I do have a few items that may take a little bit of time. First of all, I wanted to do a quick shout out to Bob and Judy Parker. Congratulations on 47 years of marriage. That's wonderful. That's amazing. You all are fantastic. So congratulations on that huge accomplishment. Chris Brownlow, another year. Happy birthday. That's exciting. I hope you had a great day today. And Savannah, you too. Happy birthday. That's fantastic. Wonderful. And then Madison, call out to Madison. So what an honor. You know, that Silver Knight Award is no small matter, and it's the highest award that you can earn. And Madison, just a job well done. You truly deserve it, and we are so proud of you and all that you do. So thank you. Thank you for bringing it home to all of Southwest branches. Great job. And then just you know, Memorial Day is a great day to be out there, to enjoy, to cook out, to enjoy family, friends. But I would encourage everybody to take some time and to consider the sacrifice that went into why we celebrate that day. We live in a town with a lot of veterans that have sacrificed a lot for our country and our community. We thank you all for the sacrifice that you made. We thank those that are not here to hear this recognition, and we are truly blessed because of all of you. So I just encourage everybody to spend a few minutes to remember and to thank those individuals. So I want to touch on a few other topics. And one of them, I want to go back to a comment that Jim Lasky made about stump grinding. My understanding is that that activity is already illegal in town. Is that correct, or am I incorrect?
Mayor, are you speaking about like a mulching operation?
Yes.
That is a violation of town code.
I thought so. So what, we need to, Jim, I think that can be resolved if it's reported. And I know we've taken action on other similar activities in town. Once again, that's a commercial operation in our town, and that's a problem. So I think we can resolve that. George Kalis, I also wanted just to shout out to you. We appreciate the fact that you remind us, you keep this front and center. That operation next to you, I believe, is also a commercial operation. I believe that there is payments being made for the debris that's being deposited on that. I believe it is in fact a dump, and there is no protection for that. And we are working, and we need to continue to work to bring this to resolution where that goes away. So thank you for keeping that front and center, and we are working on it. Thank you. I wanted to bring up another topic. As I think most residents are aware, last year there were a number of issues related to our fire assessment. And so one of the things that I worked on as soon as I got in here was trying to resolve some of those outstanding issues as it had to do with some agricultural properties in town. And I think we were able to resolve that. And I'm thankful for all the support that we had from residents and also from the property appraiser's office. But because of that, I've been really tracking and following the numbers for the fire assessment for the coming year. And unfortunately, the news is not good due to the new type of methodology we're using, due to whatever the allocation, the cost is the cost, but then the allocation is based on the different categories and how much of the service as a percentage they use. And so the resident percentage is significant, and that is going to be one of the factors that is going to be causing an increase in the fire fee. And so along with a number of there's a lot of factors that go into it. However, I am really concerned because our fire fee is already very high, and I see it going up once again this year. One of the things that I think might be worth considering, it certainly doesn't get rid of the pain, but it maybe keeps it from getting out of control, is to, in the past, we've always had the fire fee be 100% transparent. All costs for the fire are funded through the fire fee or the fire assessment. And so it's very transparent. Everything that is in that is a fire cost, that's how it's paid for. And so you all can see that straightforward. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I've always supported that. But I am wondering, I'm not really, I want people's opinion. Okay, this is just, I'm not saying this is necessarily the way to go, but I think it might be, is to put a cap on the increase in the fire fee so that it only goes up, it can only go up, say, a maximum of 3% or 5% a year, something like that. And then the remainder would come out of the normal ad valorem taxes. Certainly then we lose the transparency, which I don't like, but the fire fee is not tax deductible. The ad valorem taxes are. I don't know. I just, I'm getting very uncomfortable with where I see the fire fee going this year. And so I'm looking for other alternatives. So I throw that out there as outside of these council meetings. So I'm bringing it up here. It's preliminary. It's probably too early to really talk about specifics. We're still gathering the numbers, but I've seen enough to know that the news is not going to be good this year for the fire fee. So I'm looking for other alternatives and ways to kind of dull the pain a little. There, I know you just heard about this. You may or may not have comments, but any comments that you do have that you may be willing to share, I would like to hear it. Yeah, Gary.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So if I'm hearing it correctly, you basically are saying the town beyond a certain point should subsidize the fire fee. But that would have to be across the board. It wouldn't be just the residents. Am I correct?
That would be, yeah, then it would come into, all the revenue sources would help to pay for that.
Okay, so we would be, in essence, and correct me if I'm going wrong here. At some point, we would be subsidizing Lowe's and Publix and houses of worship and commercial, what limited commercial we have. We would be subsidizing that at some point because we have to apply it across all the categories. Is that correct?
I guess I'm I don't know. I'd have to ask, I guess, Marty for a weigh in on that. I'm not sure if that's true or not. It may be. I'm just not. I don't know.
Okay.
If I can...
Well, what I'm thinking is, and I'm kind of doing this on the fly
here. Yeah, please. No worries.
But this may be something where we want to have a special meeting, a workshop or something once we get some hard data that we can, I mean, we've got some money in the forfeiture fund that we may be able to apply. I haven't touched it yet. I haven't dreamed up another project, but I'm working on it. But all kidding aside, but there is some funds available there, possibly. But and the only time we're allowed to talk about the allocation or how this works is when we all get together.
Yeah.
So maybe we need a special meeting, workshop style meeting.
I like that idea. Once, how soon do you think the data will come in? Are we talking a month from now, 2 months from now, tomorrow? Marty, what do you think? When would you be able to give us numbers that may not be final, but are close enough that we have a good idea of what's happening?
Good evening, Mayor. I would hope to obtain the data within a couple of weeks, and maybe we can get our consultant to give us a presentation. The last meeting in June will give us enough time and an intro before the initial assessment, which takes place the last Thursday in July. And as it relates to exemptions, I'm not sure as to the legality. That will be your decision. Possibly you can apply exemptions by one or more categories of the fire assessment. So that everything is possible.
Great. All right. So, yeah, Bob. You're on mute, Bob.
Thank you. The transparency concern, I brought this up 2 years ago when we had a little spike, and I heard the same thing about transparency. I mean, is the transparency that me as a resident, I'm going to pay X? I know I'm paying my fair share. Everybody who's got the same whatever configuration, property, et cetera, as I do pays the same. So that's my fair share. Or is it the actual fire costs? Because the fire costs, that's public record. That's in our budgets. Marty tracks that. I don't understand the transparency comment, I guess. So if you could help me with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great observation. Clearly, the cost itself is well documented. There's no smoke or mirrors there. Marty's financial statements are very clear. I think the element of transparency is just knowing that when we're paying the fire fee, we're paying all for fire. You know, it covers the bill. It's not subsidized.
Got it.
So,
Thank you.
but, yeah. Andy, I like the idea of having a discussion item the second week in June on this. If we can maybe, if the rest of the council is on board with that. Any concerns with that? Are we okay with that, council?
Fine.
Yeah, is this something we want to do like at 6 o'clock, an hour before the regular meeting, or just a part of the meeting, a discussion item?
I would say that if we, I'm always hesitant to do a 6 o'clock because a lot of times residents, we don't get the word out, and a lot of residents that may want to participate don't participate. I would encourage Andy, if we can maybe make that agenda really light on everything else and just make this the focus of the meeting, but start it at 7. I think that would be my preference anyway.
Mayor, first of all, I'm here and I'm listening. For some reason, my video keeps cutting out. So I'm not sure what the problem is. I keep trying to click it on and it's clicking off. But I do hear you. I will talk to Russell. We'll confer following this meeting as far as what that schedule is. I believe the June 10th meeting is relatively light at this point. And Russell's shaking his head yes. So it looks like we'll be teed up to have a discussion during that meeting.
So I think what Marty was saying was that June 10th may be too early and that June 24th might be the better meeting to ensure that we have all the numbers in place.
Well, it won't be June 24th. In June, I'm sorry, June 24th would be, okay, yes. I apologize. I'm thinking of the July meeting. Yeah, June 24th we can certainly do if that's works better for Marty and our consultant.
We have an early meeting previously scheduled on the June 24th, just to remind everyone.
At 6 o'clock, we have the Volunteer Fire Department Board of Directors meeting at 6 o'clock, but we can certainly do the presentation and discuss the fire assessment during the 7 o'clock meeting.
That would be my preference if the council is okay with that.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, let's plan on that then. All right. Appreciate, council, I know that's, a big topic and I really don't have ways to warn you about it because we can't talk about it ahead of time. So I apologize for just dropping that on you, but thank you for the feedback and look forward to a discussion. And any new ideas that you come up with between now and then would certainly be welcome. I wanted to bring up one other topic, a similar kind of vein, something that we cannot really talk about individually. I'm not ready to make a decision or ask you for a decision on this, but I wanted to throw out the topic because I had a resident come up and ask me about it or request it. And we have some homes over on 188th that are on builders acres, smaller properties. A number of those homes are actually, in the front, our general setbacks for our homes in the front is 50 feet from the property line. And we have a number of homes there that were built well before we were a town and are built within that 50 feet zone. So they're fine. They're fine. They are non-conforming, but what is it? Conforming but non-conforming. Jeff, you can give me that never made sense to me, but I think that's the term.
They're non-conforming, which means that they're legally not in compliance.
Okay, but they're fine as far as no action would be taken against them.
We call
correct?
it a legally non-conforming use.
A legally non-conforming use. Okay, so anyway, thank you. The request is that since these are smaller lots, one of the individuals wants to do an addition and wants to use the property space. Their piece of property is outside the 50-foot setback, so they don't fall into the category I was just talking about. but they're within just a few feet of that 50-foot, and they want to do an addition on there. And so they're looking to move into that, use a portion of that 50-foot setback, just like some of their neighbors already have. Right now, that's not allowed because we have 50-foot setback that applies. So I spoke to see if there was any options. I would not in any way entertain anything that would take up more than the allotted space there, the 20% of buildable space. Would not in any way entertain anything along that lines. So this would have to fall within what they would normally be able to build, but it would be built closer to the road. And we can decide, if we were to pursue this, we could decide, you know, how much would be appropriate. This wouldn't be just for the one homeowner. This would apply to all the homes in that area. It's called an overlay. I talked to Rod and I talked to Jeff. It would be called an overlay, and it would apply to all the homes in that area. So I throw that out there. I have mixed feelings about it because I am not a fan of the homes being close to the road or any closer to the road than that 50 feet. But I recognize that there already are homes on that road that are already there in that, and they're legal non-conforming. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this. This would take 5-0 vote. So if there's strong feelings against it, then, you know, we can put it to bed right now. But if it's something that you'd like to investigate and learn more about, then we can pursue it a little further as well. Yeah, Jim.
Mr. Mayor, I got a question for you. The lots in that particular area, and I believe this is out towards US 27. Are they all are they all 1 acre? Are they builders acres? If we
Builders
do an
acres.
over, they are?
Builders acres, yes.
They're all builders acres on 188?
All of the homes that this would apply to would be strictly builders acres.
Okay, I understand, right. My question, reason I asked was that if you were to do an overlay and those are 1 acre homes, then people in Green Meadows, Dean Ranches would also want that same thing. And, you know, it would just all of a sudden you'd have homes 50 foot, you know, less than 50 foot from the street, because the developer in both those areas also built very close to the street, and some homes, you know.
Gotcha.
A lot of them are right. A lot of them are up there close to the street. So, you know, I was just wondering if it's strictly for the builders acres, or would it apply to all the acres out there?
Yeah. Thanks for Jim. But I think your point is still valid, that it kind of opens the door to other things. That's kind of what one of my concerns. But I want to hear both sides, and I want to be fair. Yeah, David.
Yeah, I kind of echo that it's going to be once you do it for somebody, everybody else is going to want it. But what I'd ask is maybe get some public input on this as well, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, David. Yeah, Gary.
Don't we have a process in place where they can apply for a variance of property owner? Don't we have that already?
They can. Certainly that is another route. The thought here was that there are a number of homeowners on that road that, while one property owner came to me, there are others on the road that have requested, that have interest in doing a similar thing. So it would be taking care of all of them at once.
Well, should we be looking at this as a case-by-case basis? Because every home is going to be different size, so they're going to have a different footprint.
Yep.
And you're talking about the 80-20 rule. And so
which would still apply.
Yeah, so there would be some, you know, everybody would have a different scenario, is what I'm trying to say. You know, I'm having a hard time visualizing it. Exactly, that's why I'm thinking that's why I came up with the thought on the variance, that a homeowner could apply for that and then move forward with that. I see that as being more suitable than just a one-off thing on it, and then it applies across the town. 'Cause I don't know how you would be able to isolate that one area when you may have other people affected in other areas of town. I mean, there are builders acres in Sunshine Ranches, there are builders acres, and, you know, all across the town we have that. So we have the odd shaped lots and things like that. We may be opening up a big can of, you know, something here, a big can of
I
worms.
gotcha. I gotcha.
You know, that's why I'm kind of working my way back to a variance, you know, that we can, because then you can see how it would look on the plot and what the square footage of what they're asking. And it may be something minor, it may be only a 2-foot encroachment as opposed to a, you know, a 20-foot encroachment or something to that effect.
Right.
If you see what I'm saying.
Yep.
So I would have a tendency to stay more with the special variance.
Okay.
You know, at this point, I'm kind of just giving you my thoughts on first
Right.
blush, you know, so that could change.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Bob.
Was there any thinking expressed on how much? I mean, you know, 10 feet isn't much, but if somebody wanted to go 30 feet, now they're only 20 feet from the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those, and maybe we need to decide, we would need to decide something like that ahead of time. My thought was to see if there was an appetite to pursue this further or not. And if there was, then we would get into more of those details and see what might be acceptable to the council. But no, have not gone into those yet.
Steve, we lost you for about 5 words.
Oh, can you hear me? Am I back? All right. So yeah, yeah, my thought was that I wanted to get an idea whether this idea at all was acceptable, and if it is, then we could dig in a little bit further into the details and see what would make sense and what we're not comfortable with. So. All right, so thank you for the feedback on that. I guess maybe I don't think we need a full discussion on it, but maybe at the next council meeting, if there's any more thoughts on this, we can just hear that and see if we want to pursue this or not. Give it some thought, and we can work one way or the other. Thank you for the feedback on that. All right, the last item I want to talk on and or speak to, and that was already brought up, is I am very excited that the next council meeting that we will be having will be in person. You can still call in at Zoom if you're more comfortable with that. But if you would like to go to a council meeting and actually speak to your council members face to face, you will have the opportunity to do it in the first meeting in June. I am thrilled about that. I want to do a couple shout outs. I've been poor Andy. I've been pressuring him for quite a while to do this, and he has done just a fantastic job through this whole COVID effort of walking that line of keeping his staff safe, number one, keeping the residents safe, and watching the real statistics, watching the real data, and making wise decisions based on that data. And so Andy, thank you for the leadership through this event that none of us saw coming, none of us could plan for ahead of time. Outstanding job, and I'm, thank you for what you and your entire staff. Russell, I know, has done amazing things in getting the technology up and in place and working, and it's affected everybody. But whale of a job, Andy, to you, to all the staff, and really appreciate all that was done to get us through this.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been an outstanding team effort, but thank you for your comments.
Right. So we are thrilled that our next meeting in June, we will be in person. We look forward to seeing the residents out there. There will be restrictions on how many residents can be in the chambers at once, and there's still going to be a process to get back to what we used to consider normal. But this is a huge step forward, and I'm very excited about it. So. All right, so with that, I think my comments are complete. Keith, legal comments.
Mayor, I'll be super brief because Andy and I spoke and he was going to cover a couple of things I was. The only thing I'll just add is it's exciting to be back in person for meetings. in July, under state law, everyone's back in person. There will be no more digital meetings in July. That includes board meetings as well. So everyone just be prepared for July to be in person. Other than that, thanks to everyone who served. You eloquently stated that, Mayor, so I won't elaborate, but thanks to everyone who served our nation. And then finally, as relates to Madison Sullivan, not only a hearty congratulations to her and her family, but more importantly, or as importantly, she is the first West Broward graduate or student to receive such an honor, which is amazing news for our school district. So congratulations to her as well. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Andy, administrative comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief, and I'll certainly echo the congratulations that you and birthday wishes that you've all passed along tonight. We are looking forward to June 10th and being live and back in chambers. For the 2 June meetings, we're going to do a combination hybrid because we're going to limit capacity to a certain extent within council chambers as we break back into it. So for those residents who may not be comfortable coming out but still want to participate, for the June meetings, they will have that option to participate digitally. And then as Keith alluded to, in July, we'll just be fully live again. Advisory boards, as we come back to live, we will try to meet within council chambers, not within the conference room, just to give people a little bit more room to spread out, because we are going to bring people back into the building, but the goal is to limit capacity, to continue to social distance. We've done a lot of good things to get us to this point, and we just want to continue that going forward. But it will be good to certainly to be back in the building for those meetings again. And just following up on that, we will be opening town hall to the public again, starting on June 7th. We're going to start in the mornings from 8:30 to noon as we kind of break back into things. But we expect to be back to full hours not very long following that. So that's the good news there. We're looking forward to that. To answer a couple of questions that Councilmember Kaczynski had, he was asking about the website project, and we are currently out to bid on that. That actually closes tomorrow. So the committee will be forming, getting together next week to begin to look at those responses and evaluate that as we work towards bringing a recommendation back to council. The second question he had was involving Tisdor and where we are with that, recognizing there are some Sunshine Ranches projects on the horizon for this year, part of Tisdor. We're just waiting to hear back from the county on that. We just need the agreement back from the county. We'll be able to execute that and get moving on that. A couple other things real quick. One is the community survey, the deadline closed, and we're in the process of compiling that data. I think we got 110 surveys back. I think that was the final number. And we look forward to getting the report out to all of you and sharing that with the public. So that's certainly not far away. And as part of opening up the building, we will be working on rescheduling the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office for their outreach meetings, as well as the DMV back in Town Hall. So we're working towards normalcy and getting those things back in place as well. And the only other thing I had, and Mayor, if you'll indulge, I'd like to turn it over to Russell, just to give you all an update on where we are in the additional LPR cameras that we wanted to add for further protecting the community and locations in that process. So if you'll allow me, I'll turn it over to Russell to speak to that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have after.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Mayor, Town Council. Myself, along with a gentleman by the name of Erez Shironi, who's on the call right now, hopefully he's still there. I think he's waited very patiently to participate in this discussion, along with Rod Lay, our Public Works Director, and couple of representatives from the Davie Police Department met last Friday to basically survey the town and look at the different areas that we've identified as being potential sites for license plate reader cameras. We had met previously in a planning meeting to discuss potential locations and came up with a proposed location map that was based off of crime statistics that we got from Davie PD, and their analyst there basically provided us a map that showed where a lot of activity is. I'm going to just briefly show that map. And so this map basically just kind of shows these little points on the map. It's maybe a little bit hard to see, but these points on the map represent different types of police activity that occurred. The legend is down here. We can provide this to the town council for their review. And based on that, we tried to see, the best possible approach to capture any kind of element that is going on in the town, any kind of criminal activity, in any way to assist, Davie Police in their investigations and preventing and solving crimes. So we identified essentially 12 primary locations and 4 secondary locations throughout the town. They're denoted here by these little icons that say LPR camera, and the direction is listed below. So north, south, east, west. And based on that information, we went to the sites last Friday, to identify if those locations would be viable. Some of the locations are not viable because of the lack of power or the lack of right of way that the town could access. So we had some minor modifications, but we still have 12 locations and now 2 alternate locations. And right now we're waiting for, or we're with the assistance of Arez and his team over at Vetted Security, waiting on an updated proposal to show what it would cost to go ahead and furnish the town with those LPR cameras. So at this point, I'll open it up to the town council if they have any questions, but I'd also like to first just turn it over to Arez if there was anything that he wanted to add to the discussion before I opened it up.
I just, if people have any questions, I know you guys have one LPR that I believe already showed some results, and the Davie Police is really pushing hard to expand that. So if people have any questions, any technical questions, I'll be more than happy to address.
Thank you, Raj.
I guess my only question is, what does it, is it just power that's required to be there, or is there some sort of other connectivity that's required at each one of these locations?
So
go ahead, Arez, go ahead.
So typically, we can take power from different sources, whether it's a street lights or FP&L. But yes, we need power, and then each of those LPR comes with a computer that's got a SIM card, and that's how it transmits the data.
Okay. Great, thank you.
And so,
Council, any further
message,
questions?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Any further questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor, what are they mounted to? The cameras? Telephone poles or special poles?
The cameras will be mounted to poles, much like what we have out at Rolling Oaks. If there's a way to co-locate them onto some other pole, that's certainly a consideration. But from what we saw when we did the site survey, it looks like we would be erecting new poles.
I have a question, Russell. Mayor. In the presentation that we had with Rolling Oaks cameras, we talked about a proximity camera that was like a 360-degree camera that basically covered the pole out to a certain radius. And the cost on it was relatively minor, like $1,000 or something like that. Is that part of this package? I know we talked about it, but I don't know if it went anywhere.
Yeah, it's a great question, Councilmember Jablonski. And initially, I know that we had a certain, amount of money that we have earmarked for potential use for the LPR program. My focus was, and our focus at the town was basically trying to get as many cameras as we can to ensure that we have the proper coverage to allow Davie PD to help solve crimes quickly and to deter crimes. If we have enough money to also, place those proximity cameras, and that would be something that we would look to do as well. But the initial focus is on providing the LPR cameras so that we can have them in, 2 different directions to capture the activity of the camera, of the licenses going past the cameras.
Thank you.
David.
Yeah, my question is, with the data collected by these cameras, be immediately sent out to law enforcement?
Yes, the way the system works, and Arez can address this a lot better than I can, but the way that the system works is it basically can create, once a hot list is created, it can alert law enforcement. We can also have, so that we leverage the technology the best that we can actually have, if a particular license plate reader tracks a car that's coming in that's on one of these hot lists, it can dispatch the closest unit or send the alert to the closest unit. So you're not sending a unit that's on the east side of town out to check out a license plate on the west side of town.
As a follow-up, we'll just say one of the license plate readers out west gets a flash, would that, and we'll say the nearest law enforcement, maybe FHP, would they be sent that information, or would it be limited to Davie?
The agencies that are participating in the system, it would give that information to, but I'll let Arez answer that a little bit more fully, but my understanding is it's Davie. I don't even know if BSO is completely on the system yet or not. So Arez, can you address that question?
And then one last question. How is the hot list created?
So there are 140 police agencies in the state of Florida that actually share the information, and they have what you call MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that they can share the information. So if a hot list, the hot list is actually compiled by different lists that can come from the local Davie police, can come from BSO, can come from the FBI, can come from different sources, and that source is actually compiled to a single list. And then once, let's say a car got stolen from Southwest Ranches, they call 911 or they call Davie PD. Once the officer load that car registration, the next time that car will go to any of the system, which not only in Southwest Ranches, it's anywhere. As soon as it gets read, it will send the alert to Davie PD, but also to the local law enforcement to say, hey, that car was stolen at Southwest Ranches, go and you have a probable cause probably to stop them. So it's a very wider system outside the town itself, where you guys going to put 12 or 14 cameras.
Great, thank you. All right, yeah, this is awesome. I think, you know, that with those locations and the number of locations that are out there, I believe that word is going to get out that Southwest Ranches is not a place to do business if you've got illegal business to do. So I think there's going to be the benefit of you know, the hot list and some immediate responses, but I think long term this is going to be a huge help to keeping crime out of our area in general. So I'm excited about it. I really am. All right. Any other discussion before we close out this item? All right, Arez, thank you for waiting. I know we kept you past your deadline. Thank you for hanging out and for your comments and advice.
Not a problem. If anybody needs anything from me, Russell's got my contact details. I'll be more than happy, and I'm available. I'm local. I live in Miami Shores, so just down the road.
Great, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Arez.
Yeah. Thank you, Russell, as well.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Yep. All right, Andy, I think that was the end of your comments, correct?
That's correct, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right, so item number 10. Deborah, if you could please read that into the record.
An ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, amending Article 130 zoning map amendments of the Town of Southwest Ranches Unified Land Development Code, ULDC, to modify the considerations for zoning requests and make revisions of a housekeeping nature, providing for codification, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This was tabled from May 13, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Great, thank you. We have a motion and a second. This item, this is mostly a housekeeping type item, but certainly welcome any comments that the public might have. Are there any comments from the council before we go to the public? Okay, let me open up to the public.
It looks like we have one speaker, but I'm not sure if Mr. Cox was waiting from before or if it's on this item. Let me just call on him. Mr. Cox, did you wish to speak on this item, item 10?
No, I raised my hand earlier. No, thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Okay. All right. Any council comment on this before we vote? Yeah, David.
Just say this is a very important issue to me, going back to last year. I'd like to ask everybody to support this.
Excellent. Thank you, David. All right, Deborah, if you could please call the roll.
Yes, Mayor. Council Albritton, Councilmember
Yes.
Albritton,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Member Kaczynski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
and Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. And then if you could please read in item number 11.
An ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving the 10-year water supply facilities work plan, the WSF-WP, and adopting, implementing amendments to the goals, objectives, and policies of the utilities element and capital improvements element of the Town of Southwest Ranches Comprehensive Plan, authorizing transmittal of the 10-year WSF-WP and relating comprehensive plan amendments to reviewing agencies, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor?
Yes, Sandy.
Yeah, if I may jump in. This was passed on first reading back at the end of January, went off to the state. There are comments that still need to be revised and addressed on this. So it's not ready to be heard now, although it had been advertised. And I just wanted to ask Jeff Kadams for his input on when he thinks it might be ready so that we can set it for date certain.
I'd suggest second meeting in July. If there is a second meeting in July.
There would be, it would be July. Actually, it's the last week in July because we're setting some preliminary rates. So it'll be, I believe it's July 29th.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you need a motion to table it?
Table
Yes.
it till July 29th would be appropriate. Thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion to table this item to date certain, July 29th meeting.
Second.
Great. If you could please call the roll on that, Deborah.
Councilmember Albritton,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes,
Motion to move pass.
great. All right. Item number 12.
Item number 12 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving a phasing agreement for application number SP 72-18 by Archbishop Edward A. McCarthy High School to amend its site plan by replacing its existing 5,820 square feet of modular classrooms with 18,552 square feet of new modular classrooms and expanding the athletic training facility by 1,830 square feet, authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution and providing an effective date.
Great, thank you.
This came to us before, correct, Mayor?
It did, and we are just, well, Jeff, you can speak to it. I believe we're just extending the
Correct.
timeframe.
This is just a 2-year extension of the approval you granted a year ago, June.
A motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion from the council on this item? Yeah, David.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that this is not brought up for an additional extension. It sounds like they're getting the modulars, but then we are getting an extension for dealing with the congestion on Flamingo Road.
Councilmember Kaczynski, this is the only extension they're allowed to ask for. It's not even technically an extension. It's a phasing agreement that they were entitled to ask for from the outset. They chose to do it now, but they're not entitled to any other extensions. This is it.
Thank you.
And Jeff, just a quick question. Is it customary for 2 years or 1 year?
The code says that that the phasing can occur over 3 years, and frankly, this is the only one we've had. And I don't know of a really good reason not to give them the 2 full years they're asking for.
Sure. Good.
Jeff, I have a question. On the original proposal that we approved a year ago, didn't we mandate that the modifications to Flamingo and Griffin had to occur first?
Yeah, they had a lot of homework to do before they could get a building permit. And that's certainly driving a lot of this.
And that doesn't change, Councilmember Jablonski.
Okay, good.
Just one last question, Jeff. Nothing else in the document has changed. This is just to advance it for an additional potential of 2 years?
That's correct.
Okay.
And Councilmember Hartman, just to be clear, this item is not quasi judicial. So they're not in any way, shape, or form changing any approval they received. It's just asking for an extension to the council for the time period to implement.
Thank you, Keith.
All right, great questions. Let me just open it up to the public, see if there's any questions or comments from the public.
I don't
Seeing
see
none.
anyone raising their hand, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Russell. Seeing none. Deborah, if you could please call the roll.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
And Mayor Brightcrus?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, item number 13. I think also we need to read this one in the record, but we will probably be tabling this one. Deborah, if you could please read it in.
Yes, sir. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, establishing a policy to regulate the utilization and administration of license plate readers, LPRs, throughout the town, establishing standards for the proper use and procedures to be used by the town's police services provider, authorizing the town administrator to implement the official license plate reader policy, and providing for an effective date.
Great, thank you. I think, Andy, is this still needs some work on it?
Yes, Mayor. The Vice Mayor and I have had some very good discussions on this, and he has suggested some content that bears inclusion. And so because we didn't advertise this, we don't need to set it for time certain. I think at this point, I think staff could just ask to withdraw the item for tonight and bring it back when it's fully ready for your consideration.
Got it.
You need a motion to reflect
Keith,
that?
are you good with that? Was that?
Yeah, it's just being withdrawn from the agenda, the way I understand.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So I don't think we need a motion on that, but thank you. All right.
Yeah, we'll bring it back as soon as it's ready for you.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Item number 14.
Item 14 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, amending resolution number 2021-17 relating to the town's advisory committee/board policy pertaining to advisory board membership and meeting attendance, authorizing the town administrator to implement the new policy and providing an effective date.
Great. Thank you. We have a motion.
I have some comments I'd like to make.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, do we have a motion, a second, to open it up for discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gary. If you could go, proceed.
Okay, thanks. I'm not very comfortable with the way some of this is written, particularly the part about being non-residents serving on advisory boards. I've had some input from other residents and they're not happy with it either. And I think we may want to I know I don't want to support it unless it's residents only. The situation we had with the comprehensive planning board, that was a one-off situation, and I think we can treat all future situations similar to that on a case-by-case basis. I think that that we're opening ourselves up for problems. We seem to we have an advisory board policy right now that's worked for the last 21 years. I think we're trying to fix something that's not broke, to be real honest with you. And that's just my take on it. I really, you know, under these guidelines, technically, Fred Siegel could be on the comp board. He's not a resident of town, and he has a different interest than some of us. We use him as a you know, a point of information and to check on things. But you know, under this scenario, that can happen. And I realize there's a 5-0 vote kicker on this, and any council member can stop it. But you know, the council changes every 2 years, just about. So I really think that I think we're trying to fix something that we don't need to fix. Is where I'm going with this. And so I'm not in support of the way this is written right now. I'm just letting you know that right now. You know.
Okay. Appreciate that feedback. Yeah, David.
I 100% agree with Gary. And I would like to add a couple other items to this. My understanding is when we made the changes for the comprehensive plan advisory board, that the effect of that vote, and I may be wrong, the effect of the way that that was approved, that a simple majority would allow it as of today. And the way it's written in the proposal on section H would add an additional qualification to the requirement of residents. And the exception would be if there was a 5-0, but my understanding, and I may be wrong, but my understanding is that as of today, it just takes a majority vote of the council. That's one issue. 2, Gary's issue with non-residents. And 3, we had just spoken about the lovely Ms. Mary Gay Chapels about being an honorary alternate member. And I don't see anything listed here about an honorary alternate member or anything about alternate members. And this is my understanding of the policy regarding advisory boards.
Good comments. Thank you, David. Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with David and Gary. I support what we did in this one case, but if we formalize it here, I worry that it'll become more of our practice than a complete exception here. You know, the 5-0 vote on it, yeah, that makes sure everybody's engaged, but I'm not sure if it's something I'd want to have codified that, you know, we'll continue to do in the future because we have an opportunity to do it. David, you just said something else that sparked a thought. I'll have to get back on it. I lost my train.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm in agreement with my other council members. What we did a few weeks back was something that we had been working on for a number of years. And we didn't have that one element that we added to it, that nursery element that we really looked at to get their perspective. And we made an agreement. They brought a resident and a non-resident in. And I think it helped the board. I think the board's getting somewhere with that. But I do think it needs to be looked at real hard as to whether they're a resident or not in the town. I think that if they work here, if they live here, then, you know, I think that they have a voice. But by working here and not living here, I think it makes a big difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bob.
Yeah,
Okay.
David, thank you. David's right. I don't know whether we want to insert the honorary alternative now or ask Keith to enhance the document further. But I mean, we just did it. We should codify it.
Yeah. Andy, I saw your hand go up. I'll let you. You're on mute, Andy.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of different points. One is, I've heard you all speak to the change in section H on the members. And I think there's a pretty clear consensus that it should be limited, board appointments should be limited to town residents. The second part is section F that talks about board appointments should preferably be made from the town's advisory board application pool. And it gives some traction to those who have attended meetings and shown some interest. I haven't heard any of you speak to that. So if that portion, that change correctly captures what the council spoke to at the last meeting, that part we could accept tonight and codify and strike section H if that's certainly the will of the council. And then to bring something back to you that reflects the honorary membership, we can certainly do that for the next meeting or next month.
Yeah, David.
Yeah, I really wouldn't have a problem with F, but if we're going to vote on anything, I would like, I'm going to go back to some research. Going back to resolution 2015-017, it clearly and unambiguously said that members of the advisory boards shall be residents. And two of you guys were already voting on that. So I think if we're going to put anything, if we're going to include F and try to pass this, we absolutely have to change H to say only town residents.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Andy, I think what you meant to say, I don't think you meant to say strike H. I think you meant to say strike the new language on H.
That's correct, Vice Mayor. Just leave the text as existing.
Correct.
And not modify it. You're correct. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
So what would we be doing on F?
If F is acceptable to you, I would ask you to codify it tonight. If it's not, then we'll certainly move on from there.
Well, in the new, with the reading, I'm adding new language, it's interested members of the public. That should read town residents, interested town residents.
Well,
based on what?
It could say interested members because H will then speak to the requirement that they must be town residents.
Okay. And
how about just changing that to interested residents who've attended at least?
yeah, I'm more comfortable with that. Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
Are you all looking to allow an override on this, or is this the firm policy? Meaning that, when you allow two non-residents on the comp plan board, how would you address that based upon what you're approving tonight? What is the will of the council?
Sounds to me like it was a one-off and we don't intend on doing it again.
If we pass this, does this mean we couldn't do it again?
The thing is, you're looking at tonight a resolution. So just as Councilmember Kaczynski read into a resolution into the record from years ago, one resolution can change another resolution, so can essentially a simple vote of the council, which is what you all did on the comp plan board. So what I'm trying to understand is what sort of permanency are you looking for through this action? If you all are basically saying this is what we want to do, we want to make it a little bit harder to change this in the future than it was recently, then I would suggest not do this by a resolution, bring it back via an ordinance, which could only be amended via another ordinance. So, I'm trying to understand what you all want, and I can get you to your end goal, but I just need more clarification of what you're looking for.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask the council a question?
Sure.
Would we ever want to put somebody on the board again if another situation were to come up, whether it be nursery or equestrian or so, a resident, a non-resident wanted to apply and they had the expertise, knowledge, or whatever that we were looking for that we didn't have? would we ever consider putting him on the board?
I mean, we just had that situation come up. I think it could
Yeah,
happen again.
Yeah, it could definitely happen again. It's just a matter of what, it's the first one in 21 years.
Would this stop that? Would this resolution stop that the way it's written?
Well, if I understood what Keith said, if we leave it as a resolution, it would not stop it. We would just have a vote of the council to kind of override it in that particular situation like we did in the past. But it would codify that this is the policy we have. Whereas if we were to convert this to an ordinance, then that makes it more difficult. We couldn't do it on the spot. It would have to actually change the ordinance before we did.
That's correct, Mayor.
So do we want to constrain future councils is what it comes down to, and make it more difficult for them to do this type of an appointment?
Yeah, I'm wondering, do we want to lose that flexibility? If we need, and I don't know what future scenario will present itself, and I don't think anybody can accurately predict that right now. What's going to happen 2 or 3 years from now.
So by leaving that last sentence in 8, would that give us that ability to be able to do that? Just make it tougher to do?
Which one are you talking about, Jim?
H, the red language in H, the added language in 8. If we left that there, then we would be able to appoint somebody if it was an equestrian problem and they had that knowledge that we didn't have, but it'd be tougher to do other than what we did before. This would take a unanimous vote to do it.
Yeah, but
we'd still be able to do it.
Well, not really, because it says it shall be town residents. We'd have to modify the existing language.
It says unless appointed, so I mean.
No, but I'm reading H. It says board members shall be town residents. That's already there. And then the new language, unless unanimously appointed by the council.
So would that take over, Keith? No?
Because you could have a vote of the majority to remove the unanimous vote decision. It's a resolution. It's a feel-good language of a policy, but I don't want you all to think it's binding. It can be changed by another council at any time, as was occurred recently. So it's up to you all to decide the permanency or not permanency of your decision.
I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the way things are right now.
Yeah, so am I.
Do you want to open it up to the public or anything?
Yeah, I do. I just want to get through our comment first. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
motion.
David.
I'm not in support.
David, yes, David.
Keith, when I had stated earlier that as we're sitting here today, a majority, 3 members, affirmative vote of the council could appoint a non-resident to any advisory board. Is that what the effect was when we appointed the non-resident member to the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Board?
Good question. A resolution can be changed obviously easily by another action of a board, okay, whether it's a board or the council. So even if you had a term that says it needs to be unanimous, a board could make a motion to waive the unanimous vote and change it to majority vote to appoint a resident to the board, and it could be done by a straight majority vote. It doesn't have permanency like a ordinance or a charter amendment would do. An ordinance is still changeable. It's just a little bit harder than a resolution. So you all, while that language is in there, from a legal standpoint only, I'm just letting you know it's feel-good language because it can be changed pretty easily by a vote of a majority, just as if you all tonight could approve that language on a 3-2 vote. It can be changed on a 3-2 vote. So I just want to make it clear that, it depends what you're looking for, but I don't want anyone to say later, I didn't think it could be amended, because it can be amended. So that's why I'm only making it clear.
Also give.
Yeah, if I could follow up. So the language, unless unanimously appointed by the town council, it's meaningless. My take is because all it takes is a majority vote regardless.
Right.
My belief is that if we have a non-resident coming into an advisory board, they could be there for as a consultant and argue an issue as arduously as they wish. But when it comes down to casting the vote, I think that should be a resident.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if I may, just want to point out to the rest of the council, you could have the scenario, it's rare, but occasionally it happens, where you only have a minimum quorum of 3 people. And you could have a rogue council at some future date where it only takes 2 votes to change this kind of a policy. So I just want to point that out, that it can be done, like that. So I don't know, if we want to go with the ordinance part or it makes the ordinance make it more difficult,
I just want to fill in one thing on a legal standpoint, but I'm sure you all know this. An ordinance would still enable you to do it. It just enables you to do it not on a whim. It would require notice and it would require 2 readings. So it only makes it a little bit more formal so that residents could provide more input because it would be an advertised item. So that's the only reason why I'm throwing it out there. It doesn't actually prevent you from doing it. A charter amendment would prevent that. A comp plan amendment would prevent that. But as far as an ordinance, it would require advertisement in 2 readings. You still could have done this. It just would have been a little bit more formal process.
Great. Why don't we, let's open it up to the public.
Just one last comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keith, that speaks volumes for creating an ordinance here. A little bit, I'm not saying we weren't thoughtful about it, but it would require the council to be thoughtful, and it would also require public input. A notice meeting is going to draw people that might feel strongly about this versus if we just decided, when we're trying to fill boards in January to change the rules or anytime during the year to change the rule. So I would speak for an ordinance there where, again, we'll attract more public attention if it's something that people feel strongly about, like this.
Okay, thank you. Russell, if we can open up to the public.
Certainly, Mayor. First speaker is Fred Cox. Mr. Cox, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I guess I'm personally embarrassed, and I'm embarrassed for all of y'all for us even having this discussion. I personally know that 12 or 15 residents who reside in the town, who pay property taxes, that have offered and wanted to serve on boards. David Kaczynski wanted to serve on the board. Y'all would not allow him. He made it to the council regardless. But we have David Kaczynskis in this town who want to serve on boards, and we're seriously entertaining and discussing non-residents. Well, let's go there. First, non-residents serve on boards and they propose rules. Why not have a non-resident be a council member and approve the rules? And hell, why are we even a town? And who are we a town of? The residents or non-residents? I'm personally disturbed that we are seriously discussing just opening the door. Come on in. If you live in Davie, okay. If you live in Coral Springs, okay. If you live in Georgia, okay. Come on in. Thank you. I really hope that y'all do not do this. And I propose what I proposed for a number of years. Every new resolution is sponsored by a council person. So we can have a particular personal talk of why. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
The next speaker is Noel Hollingsworth.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Noel Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. With this, I have spoken before to the council members and to the council. I believe that this is an extremely wrong and dangerous path that the council has taken a road down. I have seen this in other municipalities, and it has never worked out good. It's always bad. And what you're doing, you're starting little, it always ends up big, and it always ends up a disaster. It should be residents of the town only. No one ever should have a say within our town that lives outside the town, except as an advisor or a vendor. So residents only, and make it positively guaranteed that the council cannot do it. So I ask for a charter amendment on this. All council members must be residents of the town. All board members must be residents of the town. I therefore ask for a charter amendment to be placed before the voters. And let's see what the voters have to say about it. Because when we go down this road, it looks good right at the beginning, but it's going to get bad, just like it was said. Maybe someone from Coral Springs has something to say and wants to do something. And since you said the nurseries had to be part, why not the business complex over there? And get someone from Publix to come down from Orlando to be on the board. That's how bad it can get. So I say, kill it now and kill it forever. Put it in as a charter amendment and let the people vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel.
Mayor, the next speaker is Jim Lasky. Mr. Lasky, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes.
Boy, we're hearing so much brilliance tonight. No corporation would allow you to be on their board of directors if you didn't own stock in the company. As a matter of fact, usually it's millions of dollars worth of stock in the company. Well, guess what? Marty Carr says our stock's worth more. So our opinions on what happens to our town and the dilution that we could be risking by allowing people that don't have real economic skin in the game and care about the crowding of the streets and all the dilution down in my neck of the woods, which is still pretty valuable. I mean, we don't have 30-room mansions on 188th, but we got plenty of $700,000 houses, and who knows, based on what Marty says, what they'll be worth next year. So you got a guy that wants to get on the planning board, and the first thing he's talking about in the meeting the other night is expanding his nursery operation by adding the lot next door, and he wants to consult with his attorney about whether or not it's going to carry weight. I know I probably shouldn't say something like that, but that goes to show you he is looking to expand his nursery operation, which is more traffic, more dilution, and I don't believe he's paid much down on that store thing we got going on for the road. So when I bring up the story of the grinding operations for trash and all the people coming in here to dump trash and maybe leave with some products that have been resold on one of these farms, I mean, I'm trying to tell you from a business standpoint, we're not getting anything out of these guys, and all we're getting is more dilution. We got to worry about our values. We got a lot to protect. Okay, I'm sorry for going over my time. But anyway, I think you're all getting the message. We got to have residents making these decisions. They're the ones that are going to lose, not the other guy. Bye.
Thanks, Jim. Russell, you're on mute, so we're not hearing you.
Sorry, Mayor. The next speaker is John Eastman.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, John.
Okay, great. I agree with the last three speakers. You know, we're all in a rowboat pulling at the oars. And when you let an outsider in, they have very selfish motives for being on a board, usually to enhance their business prospects. And, you know, we see this with the nurseries. Off the end of 188th, below 63rd, we have basically land speculators, and they run cover with ag operations while their property values appreciate significantly. And I've seen this for the last 25 years down there. And some of the nurseries are profitable because they do non-nursery things. They're not really growing things in pots, which is a passive thing. They're actively involved in allowing landscapers to come in and park at night, trash reception. The bulk waste business is a multi-million-dollar business. We've had about 4 or 5 of these operators in our town. Some of them are still working here. And they would love to be on one of our comp boards, you know, to further their business interests. So now, as a vested person in the town, we all need to have a say, but it needs to be us making the rules for our town. And as Newell said, it hasn't worked out in other places. And Jim made the great point. If you're trying to get on a board of a company and you don't own stock in that company, no skin in the game, sorry, you're not welcome. And I think we need to make this permanent, and I would certainly support a referendum to the voters, cementing this in so it could never come up again. If you need to get a consultant in on a board, we've had them many times come in and speak on things. If we need to call in an expert, it's very easy to do, but they don't need to be on the board, and they certainly shouldn't have a vote. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, John.
Mayor, the next speaker is Ed Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez, can you hear us?
Looks like you're still on mute, Ed.
Try pressing *6.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All righty. Ed Gonzalez. I live at 6500 Holity Trail. And the way I look at this is very simple. If you are working with the board at an advisory capacity, you're helping that board create rules and regulations that the residents have to live with. So therefore, as a resident, I want to have, and I want members to have input as to the rules and regulations that we have to live with. And anytime you have outsiders, their interest is based on what their outside interest is, not what our inside interest is. And I've been here almost 40 years, and I've seen this town change a lot, from dirt roads to paved roads to rules to be in a town to from unincorporated. So I think the residents should have the say-so and the vote as to how we're going to live and what rules we're going to live under. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, Mayor, the next speaker is Marianne Allen.
Hi, everyone. Wow, you guys brought up some awesome points. David, you started it off, and you've really opened my eyes that down the road we could be into a lot of trouble and a lot of grief. What if developers wanted to get on board and just bought, invested in a property here? They've never been part of our history. They could change things. These planning and advisory boards are very, very important, but they can be very dangerous as well if they don't represent the flavor of this town, which is, it has been nurseries and especially our horse farms. I don't know if there's anyone on this advisory board now that is representing the horse farms. And what really scares a lot of us and brings us all up to the meetings is when you propose things like getting rid of horse trailers on your horse farm, fire taxes on barns at the same rate that Home Depot is charged. So these advisory boards are very, very important. I'm going to have to agree with you guys that we should be residents. And if there is a special need to have input from an expert, we can do that, but we can keep ourselves a lot safer with what you're advising. And thank you for opening my eyes to that.
Thank you, Marianne.
Mayor, the next speaker is Debbie Green.
Hello.
Hey, Debbie. Yep, we can hear you.
Great. So I'm just gonna say, I agree with all the previous speakers. I feel strongly that all members of the advisory boards should be residents of the town. I think that's part of why you have each of you, each council member appoints somebody, so you have members on those advisory boards from all the different areas of town, so you can hear from all the different areas how certain issues or policies could possibly affect residents. And I think, like the others have said, all the meetings are open. And if there's, certain people that are not residents that have the expertise, they're more than welcome and should be invited guests to share that knowledge at the meetings. And then the members can take that information for what it is, and then they vote on it. I think anybody's welcome at the meetings, but I don't think that non-residents should have any place on an advisory, as a member of an advisory board.
Great. Thank you, Debbie.
Okay, Mayor, the next speaker is Jalen Lorenzo. Oh, we lost Mr. Lorenzo. I guess the next speaker is Michelle McBride. Ms. McBride.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Michelle.
Okay, so just a couple of thoughts. I'm listening to what everybody has to say, and it seems like there's a discrepancy in my mind as far as, in theory and the reality of what everything that we're talking about tonight. When you're talking about, somebody from Home Depot serving on an advisory board versus a property owner. And what is a resident is you're making it sound, or the way I'm hearing it is that the people that are wanting to be on these boards don't own property in this town. They're not invested. I heard a speaker talk tonight who I read his email that was very disparaging to a nursery owner who actually is more invested than he is. He pays more property taxes annually than actually the man that spoke. And to say that he's getting a free ride is just simply untrue, unfair, and it's just a lie and misrepresenting the situation. We're so focused on who's serving on boards, and in fact, we're discussing the Town Comprehensive Plan Advisory Board, and we're focusing on who should be there when what's more important in my mind is that they've read the plan. Who's on the board? Do they understand the plan? Do they see the vision for the town? Because that's not what I'm seeing. That's not what I'm hearing, and I'm there. And that's a big reason to be concerned. And, luckily the people that have been placed, because I know this is directed towards the nursery owners, and I've been there listening to the meetings, and I'm happy they're there. I'm listening to what they have to say, and it goes along with our comprehensive plan. I've read it. And guess what? I've spoken to board members on that comprehensive plan that have not read the plan. That's scary to me. I mean, it clearly says that, we're preserving it for future generations. This is exactly what one of the people that were appointed to the board talked about, his son. And Mr. Lasky talked about something about, scared that he's going to buy the property next door. Why? It says so in our comprehensive plan that we're supposed to preserve and protect nurseries. It says so. And I think you guys should read it. If you're going to, instead of being so worried about whether, it's Michelle McBride because she owns property here, but she's not a resident, why don't we just focus on the board members reading the plan? Having a copy of it and reading it and sticking to it, because it's not a suggestion. It's like our Constitution. That's what it is, and we're supposed to follow that. And we're not following it. Meeting after meeting, we're not getting to a common ground because people are afraid They're afraid that what we have is going away. And if you listened carefully to what Marianne said, and I loved what she contributed to tonight's meeting, but what she contributed tells exactly the way that it was. And I've spoken to different people about the vision of, 30 years from now, but reading the plan, it talks about it. We're supposed to preserve that. We're supposed to provide a way for that to happen. We're so concerned about who's going to be on there, but maybe we should be concerned about the people who are on there have that vision, the vision, not opinions. These aren't opinions. A judge doesn't make a ruling on opinions. He makes it on case law. And this town plan advisory board has to make it on our comprehensive plan, not their opinions.
Right.
That concludes my comments.
Great. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have one last speaker, and that's Jalen Lorenzo. Ms. Lorenzo.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Oh, Mr. Lorenzo.
Yes.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm on my wife's phone. George Lorenzo. So I just wanted to clear the air a little bit. I am going to be a resident of Southwest Ranches. I'm closing on my house on Friday. And I'm really excited about that. I've been wanting to live there for a minute. So, pretty soon I'll be a neighbor. I am vested in the property that I am in, not only by money, but also by my family. We run an operation there that's a family business. This is not a, huge Home Depot or Walmart or Tractor Supply like some of these people make it out to be. If you go and you ask any of my neighbors, there's 76 of them where I live. Ask any of my neighbors how my company operates within that town, okay? And see if you get a negative feedback from them. I want to thank Michelle McBride for the comments that she said about my son. I take this kind of personal in a way, and it's kind of sad that we've got people saying that they don't want no more nurseries. They don't want expansion of nurseries. Meanwhile, we want to say that we want to preserve the rural lifestyle. How is it that you're preserving the rural lifestyle when you want to make it okay to build residential homes, but it's not okay to have a nursery? We're protecting land. We're undeveloping land, okay? I understand that there's a lot of people out there that are doing the wrong thing, but not all of us are. And it's not fair that we got to pay the broken plates, okay, for people that are doing things wrong. I'm selling a waterfront home in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm moving to Southwest Ranches because I like the rural lifestyle, okay? I am very vested. I was a fireman there for 9 years. I was a captain. I left at captain level. I put in all my time and effort for no pay. At the end, we had a stipend, but most of the things that I did were for no pay. What I'm doing right now is for no pay. And the main position that I got on this comprehensive advisory board, even though I'm not getting paid, the purpose of it was, which is where we're losing our point here, is the purpose of me being on that board was me being someone from ag, having a nursery, and having a voice for the rest of the people like me that are doing things the right way and aren't being heard. They're being bullied and run over by people like the previous comments were made that are just saying things that aren't even true. They're assuming these things. They're speculating these things. These things are not true. They need to find out for themselves. Not everyone is in the same boat, okay? So I just wanted to clear that. I'm going to be a resident there, and I am very vested, and I care a lot about Southwest Ranches. I love Southwest Ranches. I have my animals there. I have my family there. We have livestock. We have horses, goats, sheep. I'm vested. I can't be any more vested. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Okay. All right. So I'd just like to say that I appreciate very much the feedback and the interaction that we have with the residents. We're hearing different opinions, but I really appreciate the fact that we have an open forum like this, that we can disagree and we can still be all on the same team. One of the things that I guess, if I look at this, what I would say is one of the kind of the genesis of a lot of this is that I think that we were able to get an incredible addition to the comp plan board through George and Danny, but George specifically from the standpoint that he was not a resident at the time. I'm thrilled that he will be a resident here, in the next week. So, so generally, I try to be as transparent. I'm not here to be some politician and try and please the whole world. I just try and do my best to represent the town. And so when I saw that we had someone that had as much skin in the game, that had a heart for our town, that was invested in a lot of ways, I was instrumental in getting George on the board. And I'm proud of that because I think he's done an amazing job there. I think the board is better for him being on there. And when I say the board is better, I mean the town is better. And so I'll take the responsibility and I'll take the hit for that. It is what it is because I think it makes us all better. Do I want non-residents to run our town? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think sometimes we take an idea and unfortunately we move it all the way to a worst case scenario right out of the gate, and sometimes we don't make the wisest decisions if we allow that to happen. I think we have to. I think the current system has actually worked pretty darn well for the first 21 years, and by doing what we're kind of talking about doing. We're just tying our own hands. That's all we're doing. We're putting handcuffs on ourselves, which maybe that's what we want to do. But I'm here to represent the residents, so I'm not gonna I'm not going to the mat on this one because you all put me in here, and I'm here to represent you. But I will tell you that I think we're better when we have the opportunity to make the right decision, quality decisions about quality people that can help our town. Very similar like we did with George. And George, I apologize for calling you out specifically because I know you're not trying to get in the middle of this, but I think it's just an example of what we can do if we do it thoughtfully, if we do it from the standpoint of what we feel is best for the town. I would hate to have been in a situation where we would not have been able to put George on the board. I'll just say that because I think we're a better board, and we're going to come out with a better outcome of their work with George and Danny on there. So certainly with them on there, it's a tougher discussion. It's a more difficult discussion. It's a more uncomfortable discussion because we have stronger, different points of view. But we shouldn't, I'm a believer in that. I've never been afraid of a tough conversation because that's the only way. I would rather have it be a conversation than have it be a group of people that feel like they don't have a voice at the table. And that's the way we've been for a long time. And I'm going to try and do my best to get rid of that because I don't think that's healthy for our town. So I'll go with this, the resolution, the ordinance, whatever the council wants to go with, that's it. But I wanted to express my opinion on it, why I believe what I believe. And, but at the end of the day, I'm here to represent the residents. So I will go along with it. But I wanted you to know where I was coming from. If somebody's embarrassed by that, I apologize, but I'm going to be transparent, and I'm going to tell you what I believe, and I'm just going to. That's who I am. So put it out there. It's council. I leave it in kind of in your hands. I think you know how I feel, but I think I'm in the minority here. So I will support where you all go, and because I'm here to support the residents.
Yeah, Steve, if I could make an additional comment. Mayor.
Sure.
When I opened this up, I told everybody I'm not in support of this and all the reasons, and I used Mr. Siegel as an example because he attends all the comp boards. That was in no way casting doubt upon him or anything like that. He's a public servant, as we are. He just has a different job description than we do and represents Broward County, and he's also our go-to guy with the Farm Bureau and with agriculture. So I don't want him to feel slighted in any way, shape, or form. I would just pointing out that he attends our comp board meetings, and under these new rules, he could technically become a member. You
Right.
know, if we wanted to vote for it, and I was just using him as an example. So and he, hopefully he's not upset by it or anything like that. It wasn't not my intention.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, and but like I said before, when I opened this up, I didn't, I don't support it the way it's written. I think it needs to be all residents. I know we have a motion and a second on the table. Perhaps they want to be withdrawn. I don't know. I'm throwing out suggestions, and possibly an ordinance probably does a better job than a resolution does, and maybe this needs more work and fine tuning to what we're all talking about.
I mean, my inclination is, I always like to make progress when we can, but it does seem to me like the ordinance is the most likely scenario for this to pass. And so I don't see much benefit in passing a resolution tonight, only to pass an ordinance 2 months from now. That's just my feeling. I think, to me, I would rather withdraw the item and have it go back and reworked.
Yeah, I don't think this resolution would pass any way, shape, or form,
Right.
based on what I'm hearing.
Right.
So the second and the maker of the motion, if they want to withdraw it.
I think I made the motion, so I'd withdraw it.
Does the second agree? Who made
I
the
would
second
agree.
comment?
It was
Was that
Councilman
made the second? Yes, I agree.
Okay, so the motion and the second is withdrawn. And I would say the will of the council is to withdraw this item from the agenda for further work as an ordinance. Anybody disagree with me on the council on that?
You hit the nail on the head with a very large hammer.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And just to be clear, I didn't make the motion in support of the language that we're concerned about. It was for discussion purposes.
I asked you to make the motion to support discussion, and I appreciate you did it, Bob. Thank you. All right, so that item is withdrawn. Okay, item number, where are we? 15.
Yes, Mayor. Item 15 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, authorizing the town administrator to establish and to implement administrative policy for appropriate attire to be worn at town facilities, establishing standards for the procedures to be enforced by the town's police services provider, and providing an effective date.
Mayor, if I may chime in on why we're doing this real briefly. The rules on COVID and masks and other items that you can wear is constantly changing by the governor through executive order and by a state law that has passed that goes into effect in July. And the CDC itself continually changes what they're recommending and what not. Originally, this item came before me with a policy attached of when masks were to be worn and when masks were not to be worn. And while I was reviewing it, the law changed again. So as a result, we needed to create flexibility for the town administration to dictate when masks need to be worn in town hall and when they are not allowed to be or not required to be worn within town hall. And as a result, this is what has developed. That being said, we're not even allowed to say today that this is relating in any way, shape, or form to masks. So the requirement now is I'm supposed to say this is about all attire, whether it's a bathing suit, flip-flops, or anything that someone would wear into a public facility. So this is required of law in order for Andy to be able to follow the law and determine what's allowed and what's not allowed in regards to anything people wear to fight pandemics or otherwise. So sorry for the long-winded explanation, but this is a crazy item that we're required now to have. So it's for you for consideration.
Great, thank you, Keith. I know the first time I saw this a couple of weeks ago, I was wondering, okay, what weird, dress thing happened in town hall that I didn't hear about. But so thanks for that explanation.
Andy doesn't
So we
like
need a motion, a second, please, on this.
Yeah, Andy didn't like the hat I wore. So this is how he's working that out. Anyway, I make a motion to approve.
Great.
Second.
Who got the second on that? I didn't hear.
Jim got it.
Jim got it? All right. Thank you. All right. Any further discussion on this item?
Define proper attire.
All right. Any public comment on this item?
No service.
There are no members of the
Seeing none.
public. They got
Oh,
one.
there we go. No, there was someone.
Okay, Mr. Cox has his hand raised. Mr. Cox, can you hear us? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. With all due respect, this is so vague. I don't know what it is that we're discussing.
Good.
And we haven't had a public meeting in a year and a half. As Steve said, I don't attend all the meetings like you guys. I attend a number of meetings. I haven't seen anything obscene or any T-shirts that bothered me or annoyed me, or I'm just puzzled. It's 2021. We're discussing a dress code. Does it include Zoom meetings? Can I wear my house coat to a Zoom meeting? Thanks.
Thanks, Fred.
Mayor, I see no other public comments.
Great. All right. Seeing no other council comments, Deborah, if you could please call the roll on this.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And Keith, thank you for that explanation.
All right, item number 16.
Item number 16 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving the 2021 amendments to 2 interlocal agreements with Broward County, providing for the division and distribution of the proceeds of the Broward County 5th cent local option gas tax and the additional 3rd cent local option gas tax, authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to execute said agreements and providing an effective date.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second on this. Any discussion from the council on this item? Any discussion from the public on this item?
One speaker, Mayor. Well, we have 2 speakers. Okay, so the first is Mary Ann Allen.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, this is about raising a gas tax. And what does that mean? I mean, gas is going up all the time. It's ridiculous. Who's benefiting? I don't understand the ordinance. If that could be explained a little more. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary Ann.
The next speaker, Mayor, is John Eastman.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, John.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment about the gasoline tax. And, you know, we have a lot of electric vehicles coming online. And I'm wondering if FPL is going to share the pain, the tax pain, with the people at the charge stations, because they're using the roads too. And, you know, if they're causing wear and tear on the roads like I am, I'm paying a gas tax. When do they get to pull at the oars with me? Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yeah, so just an explanation on this. This is basically the gas. We don't set the gas tax. We don't do anything as far as implementing the gas tax. However, it is collected, and we need to get our portion of it. We need to pass these items so that we are willing to accept our portion of that tax to benefit. And we normally use this for infrastructure type projects in town. But the tax is going to be paid whether we pass this or not. The tax is going to be issued and paid. It's just a matter of whether we get to benefit from it or not. And this allows us to benefit from it. So it keeps our other taxes lower. All right. Okay, any other council comment? All right, seeing none. Deborah, if you can please call the roll.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Albritton,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, item number 18.
What happened to 17?
Actually, item 17, Mayor.
Oh, 17. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Items,
Oops.
Oops.
Item 17 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving a purchase order to 10-8 Fire and Safety LLC in the amount of $11,233.20 for the purchase of fire hose equipment for the Southwest Ranches Volunteer Rescue Department, authorizing the town administrator to execute the purchase order, approving a budget amendment to the fiscal year 2021 adopted budget, and providing an effective date.
Great, thank you, Deborah. Is there a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is actually a great item. This is not one to be passed over. It's, we get a grant there where our portion is about $600 and we're getting about $10,600 for it. So for something that's very much needed. So appreciate the vote on this. Any council comment on this before I open up to the public?
I like the
Seeing none.
ratio.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, any public comment?
You have one speaker, Mayor. It's John Eastman.
Okay.
Mr. Eastman.
Council, yes, you know how I feel about the volunteer fire department, and the earlier comments in this meeting about the fire fees being looked at again, and we've got an issue with costs. Well, there's a big cost you can get rid of. The volunteer department, or the Southwest Ranches Department, as you call it, is a redundant department. They do nothing. All they do is follow the real fire contractor to the problems. And you can save a big budget item for our entire town by just defunding it and getting rid of it. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Mayor, the next speaker is Jim Lasky.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Jim.
Okay, great. You know, back a couple of years ago, Mr. Bright Cruz, I mentioned to you about a study that was done by an investment company for Fort Lauderdale. And as you know, Fort Lauderdale has a volunteer fire department, Fort Lauderdale by the sea, I believe. And they found out that 5% of a fire department in their area was going to be for capital equipment, and the rest was going to be for labor. So using the advantages of the fire department in order to restructure the management of fire, okay, I think it's kind of easy to see, especially if we go back and read that report, how we might be able to slowly integrate our good volunteer fire department into a regular fire department that can protect us. And I think with the costs going up and the need there, the better need that we would get with the slow response times we have in country of states, it's already documented we have a need, and we have a financial obligation, I would say, to investigate it further and investigate it again, maybe pretty soon. So I think I like to leave you with that thought that it is conceivable that we could do this. And we could probably also take advantage of our added security we're going to add with the license plate readers and our low crime situation that we deal here with our own police department. You can hire police. They can move sideways. But it's worth looking at. And we got such a great manager, I'm sure that he can find some time to delegate that and look into it a little more than what we're looking to now. So please think about that, and maybe we'll put John to work on this too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Mayor, the final speaker is George Lorenzo.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a little insight on the fire department, only because I was in it. And, you know, I don't know how many times we ran on calls where Davie or Pembroke Pines or BSO wasn't able to get out there. And how many times, countless times, we saved lives. We're first arriving units on accident scenes, on rollovers, on fires. I mean, you name it, I had it. Okay, in the time that I was there. I think saying that the volunteer fire department is useless is really disrespectful. It's ignorance, to be honest with you. It makes no sense. The volunteer fire department is essential in the town of Southwest Ranches. It helps pick up the slack where Davie sometimes fall behind. Davie has 2 stations. You got 91 and 112. Okay, before when Pembroke Pines was there, you had a lot more response. You had a faster response. Okay, I'm not putting Davie down. Davie's a great fire department, but it's a different response that we had with Pines than we have with Davie. Okay, so now you want to get rid of a volunteer fire department? You want to defund it? Come on, get real. It picks up the slack. It makes everything better. In the time that I was there, I don't know how many times I ran calls on chest pains, overdoses, suicides, attempted suicides, accidents. We were first arriving units. That's got to be in the ISO ratings. You guys got to be able to see that. I'm highly against that. I'm going to be living there. I want to be able to have attention. If I have one of my kids get sick, gets in a drowning, gets in an accident, my wife, me, myself, anybody, you wouldn't want to have service. Having that volunteer fire department there, they're all certified. They can't be on there if they're not certified, if they're not paramedics, if they're not EMTs. They have to have the qualifications. So we have to get the mentality away from these people are not good enough. They are. They are.
Excellent. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Mayor, there's another person. I have 2 more people that have raised their hands. If you want me to call on them.
Yes, please.
The first one is Marianne Allen.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Marianne. Yes, we can.
Great. I have a lot of historical perspective on the volunteer fire department. When I moved here in 1989, Charlie Tona used to have the big fire engine on his property, and I was very much involved with the volunteer fire department. They do a lot of things. They had access to terrain that the regular fire department couldn't get to. We had tremendous fires in the 80s, and I remember it was the Everglades fires. We weren't as built up then, but in the 80s, I was living in Colony Point on Johnson Street and Flamingo, and I could see the fires from my apartment building. It was frightening. It was absolutely frightening. You know, we haven't suffered brush fires, knock on wood, since that time, but had that happened where it is now, we would have had mass evacuations like they've had in California. Our volunteer fire department is very important because it also deals with livestock. Leslie Kastner is a volunteer fire department with tremendous experience in rescuing animals, which we have here. So I think it's integral, not only in our history, but it's a valuable resource and very important for the safety of our residents' animals here. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne.
Okay, Mayor, the next speaker is Ed Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a statement. I know that gentleman about defunding the fire department. I just wanted to point out that my son started off as a volunteer fireman here in Davie there on Sterling Road. He is now a fire chief. And the reason he's moved up the ladder is because of the training that he received from that volunteer organization. When he was able to get onto the paid fire department, he had all the training necessary. And he had used all that training here in the ranches to save lives and do everything that a normal fire department does. So you want to defund something else. Leave the police and the fire department alone. We don't need any less of them. We need more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. All right. I appreciate that feedback. I hesitate to do it, but I've got to go in there and just say that we are fortunate to have the volunteer fire department. The cost for the volunteer fire department versus what we pay in contract for anybody else is so small, and yet the value that we get from them is just the same. It's, they are as dedicated or more dedicated to our town. They are there when we need them. Out west, we are thin. There's no two ways about it. We are thin in coverage out west, and the team that makes up the slack, that makes sure that people are there when Davey is tied up in another call, and it happens. Talk to the chief. It happens. Is our volunteer fire department, and it's a life safety issue. It's non-negotiable in my book. And we are fortunate to have them. We're fortunate to have Chief Bennett and everybody that works with him, Darren and the folks that have been there so long and dedicated for so long. And is it real dollars? Yeah, you bet it's real dollars. But is it value? Do we get value for those dollars? We get incredible value for those dollars. And so they take a lot of abuse. I've known Chief Bennett for a long time, and sometimes him and I will talk, and I'll say, buddy, man, how do you do it? But he puts up with it because he raised his family in this town. He believes in this town. He's a quality individual, and he does a great job, and he's a great leader for our volunteer fire department. So just had to say that out there because it really it's not right. It's not respectful. Some of the comments and the things that are said. So
Mayor,
all right, we do. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, just real briefly. This is not a referendum on the volunteer fire department. This is getting them the equipment they need and getting it, through grants with some very minimal cost to us. It's almost negligible. But I do want to point out, I do want to make a statement. The other day, I won't say where and when, but it was, we had an accident here in Rolling Oaks, and I happened to be there right after it happened, like within about a minute. And we had an elderly woman who basically her head was split open. And when there was a 911 call that we decided right then and there once we saw the wound. And the first on the scene was the volunteer fire department. And they immediately administered whatever they do. I got out of their way, and then Davey came in with the fire rescue, and everything was triaged. And within a matter of probably 2 minutes, she was on her way to Cleveland Clinic. So just, my hat's off to them. They respond really well. You have to really see it in action. I basically held the gate open for them, but that was, my participation once that was done, and they really know what they're doing. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you,
That's all.
Jerry. Thank you. Yeah, David.
All right. I can't recall if it was the day before Election Day or Election Day. I showed up at Grace Church, and all of a sudden I see our volunteers driving as fast as they could going west on Griffin Road. And I later asked and found out that there was an auto accident that involved an ejectment. And when our guys showed up there, the person that was ejected was not breathing. They brought that person back to life. You can't put a price on that.
Right. Right. Thank you, David. All right. Those guys are worth, and gals are worth defending. They are quality individuals. This item here is just as we're pointing out, as a smaller item. It is mostly a match. Only $600 of this is approximately $600 is coming out of town funds that, by the way, are covered by that fire fee that we're talking about. So, and seeing no more council discussion, no more public discussion, Deborah, if you could please call the vote.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can I ask you just a quick question? We talked earlier about having the fire assessment discussion during the second meeting in June.
Yes.
If we're able to get that information sooner, would it be okay with the council if we scheduled it for the first meeting?
So long as
Within June?
we have enough time to get it out to the public so that they are aware of it, you know, it needs to be at least 10 days before that meeting that we would need to announce it so the public is aware and they can express it. That's the only thing I would say.
Okay, because my concern is we may not have a full council at the second meeting in June.
Well, then we definitely need the full council, and I don't think we can push it any further than that. So I see where you're going. I think let's just plan on it then being on that first meeting. And Marty, the pressure is on you, buddy. The pressure is on you to deliver the numbers on time.
We will try. We will do our best to get it out. Remember, we also have initial hearing. It does not occur until July 29th. So it gives us a long time, Mayor, which I want the public to be aware. So we still have a lot of time. If there's open items that occur during either session, but I will do my best.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Marty.
And I'll say the July meeting would only be preliminary rate as well. I mean,
Right.
we want to be certainly as close to final as we can, but that is the preliminary rate.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Good point. All right, now item 18.
Motion to approve.
Second. Quickly.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any corrections or adjustments to the minutes from either the council or the public?
Nope, I wrote them myself.
Right. Wait a minute, then I think I might have an objection. Hold on a second. All right, seeing no further comment, Deborah, if you could please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Albritton,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz,
Yes,
minutes passed.
excellent.
It's that special time of the day.
It is that very special time.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
night, folks.
Thank you
Great
for a
meeting.
great meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have
Thank
a
you,
good
staff.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Russell.
Great job, Deborah.
Thank you so much. You guys made it easy.
All right.